Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the 372nd edition of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast. I'm your host, Steve Wellings, and joining me on the call so far we have Ozzy Smith and Andy Patterson. Sunday fairly comes around pretty quickly, doesn't it? Here we are, going all again on YouTube from 8 o'clock, and the Patreon RSS feed updates shortly after the show concludes. Just remind you about that. Hello to everybody listening during the week. Might be on iTunes, Spotify, or on Soundcloud. Just having a look in the chat there, see who's hanging about. Why not? Let's have a look in the chat, shall we? Always fucking late, says Jeff C. Apologies, brother. Apologies about that. Tosh Bear is there. Banana Rama. Lee the Alcoholic Frotch. Shout out to Matthew
go fuck
Russell.
himself, man.
Bit of banter with the boys there. Andy, John Wayne as well. Swaggy Taggy. Be safe. Just getting the old vocal cords going, you see, lads. William Kernahan. Let's go on up, shall we? Nothing else to do. Boxing Channel. Saul Farrow is the GOAT. Seen him knocking about the internet as Zuma Harris, Jojo, Henry Armstrong, and Graham Taylor. Shout out to Graham. Ricky Gravel's here as well. Welcome, Ricky Gravel. Curly Watts as well from the old cobbles of Coronation Street, fighting on the cobbles. Andy, how are you this week? How are you feeling? How are you coping? How are you holding up?
As usual, mate. You know, still drinking too much. Yeah, but we're doing pretty well. I didn't even catch Boris's statement today, actually, but as far as I know, we're getting left behind with the Irish and the Welsh and that, so we're going to be getting locked down for a wee bit further extended period. I don't know if it was like 2 or 3 weeks and that, but all the more time to handle and some more swallows, you know, and watch some more fights. All good. With yourself, Ozzy, you good, mate?
Yeah, not bad. It was a pretty vague statement, so you've not missed much. It's pretty much, it is what it is. Some people can go back to work if they can't work from home. Bit more leniency on the exercise. Still no crowds, gatherings. Continue to maintain social distancing. More will be revealed tomorrow. So yeah, it's what it is. Been a good weekend. Very warm. Been off the ale actually, which is a bit of a surprise. So I'll probably make up for that during the week. But yeah, keep on going, don't we?
Keep on going, Andy. I found that I've been watching less and less boxing as the weeks go by. I don't know about yourself. You were just telling us off air some of the things that you've been watching, including a quality fight between Denis Lebedev and Guillermo Jones. If I remember rightly, Denis was ending up with the face looking a bit of a mess.
Yeah, man, it was like proper evil shit, as I say to you guys. And I mean, I'm a bit of a masochist. I like to see wars, guys getting torn to bits and stuff, but that fight was about too much. I mean, he got cut pretty bad on the right eye with the jab off Guillermo Jones, like the first round. And then round 3 or 4, and that is showing swelling. And then he just, you know, it was just a trip hammer jab for Jones. For Jones, it was just badly getting swollen up. And they had the Mike Tyson, Michael Douglas, Buster Douglas type situation. They had the no end swell rubber glove with the ice in it, trying to kind of get the swelling down. What a mess it was. And I remember at the time, it was like Chris Abdul, the referee, he was like doing everything possible to try and keep Lebedev in the fight, even with the count and that, but he was so fucking relieved to call that fight off because, you know, his life was on the line. I mean, you could see it even the corner night. He had 3-4 members of the corner in there having a look at the doctors and looking at him, like the 10th, 11th round, saying, yeah, he can go on. He's looking like a Martian, man, for outer space. He's in a bad way, but always be to see. I watched a wee bit early fights of Povetkin. I watched Prime Jose Napolis actually against Curtis Coates. He's a Hall of Famer by the way, back in the day. Good welterweight champion. Few his defences and stuff. It was just actually good to see. Like we're talking like late 60s, early 70s here. Napolis was like prime, you know, foot movement, jab, absolute solid. What else?
Well, you made a good point, actually, Andy, which I was going to raise off air. You said that the Jones-Lebedev was one of the only opportunities where you called for a fight to be finished. Now, I've done that a few times, and I can't actually think of any off the top of my head, but a few times I've jumped up in front of the telly and actually said, now, come on, needs to be finished. I'm pretty sure the last round of Bernard Hopkins versus Sergei Kovalev, you know, when Bernard's head was starting to be rocked back, I was actually calling for that to be stopped. And in real life, a couple of times, I've sort of stood up at ringside and not made a scene or anything, but gone, come on, you need to stop this now. That's a natural instinct. It's not something you rehearse. You know, you're obviously feeling in the moment. Did that happen often? Any other fights you can think of where you said, look come on, you have to stop this now?
Yeah, I remember Chris Isday against Antoine Douglas. The kid was never, I think he was like Douglas was something like 21, 22, early 20s anyway. Supposedly came into his prime in that, and Kurtzizzy just kicked the absolute ever-loving granddad out of him. That kid, I think he had like 3 fights afterwards and then he retired, though he's never been seen since. And that it was a bad beatdown. There's probably a couple of ones of like in America. I'm trying to think off the top of my head, and that one, like a top line. I remember Provodnikov against Alvarado. That was pretty brutal as well at one point. But when you go, mate.
Do you remember Marcus Morris and Jason Wellborn?
Mm.
That was probably about 12 months ago, and that was a bad beatdown for Morrison. A horrendous one, and that was another one where Gallagher refused to throw in the towel, and Morrison may not be great, but certainly took a lot out of him. Saw one in the chat, Eubank Jr. Blackwell, good shout. It was target practice for Eubank Jr. Blackwell was just there to be hit, and we saw what happened. Naturally, we saw what happened after that. Whether it was down to that, we'll never know, but surely it certainly contributed. There too, from immediate memory straight away. I mean, you always see some of these lower level, like Prospect against Journeyman, basically non-TV cards. If you're there and you see these, these basically foreigners come over and are there to take a beating, and sometimes you just think, what's the point in this continuing? But there's a couple there that I think spring straight to mind straight away.
Just as you mentioned that one as well, it's probably a more common one would be Muhammad Ali against Larry Holmes. I can always remember listening to. I was just like obviously watching the fight back, and that you just listen to Harry Cosell saying, "Like this needs to be stopped," and that it's just watching Ali just standing there, face glazed, just getting punched about, and it's just like, it's time to call it quits,
Absolutely. I know Angelo Dundee afterwards said people should have been arrested for the involvement in that, but I think it's an initial reaction and human emotion. It's interesting that I have found myself doing it a few times, shouting out, come on, you're going to have to stop this now, because you're just feeling like someone's going to get a beating, and you're realising the gravity of the situation. Duran versus Davey Moore, says Steve Brown. Lee the Alcoholic Frotch, says Scott Quigg, Carroll. Ricky Gravel says Jeff Lacey should have been pulled out as well against Joe Calzaghe, because I mean, right at the end, even Gary Shaw jumped up and said, you're going to have to pull him out. That was about the last 20 seconds. It was too late then.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Gary Shaw's up there like 15 seconds to go. Dana Alfredo Morelos with hands across the throat. Pull him out. He's done it. Like, dude, you could have pulled him out like 3 rounds before.
3 rounds ago, yeah, exactly.
He was getting absolutely hammered in that. I mean, I think it was it 12th round he got put down. He got an absolute bombardment in that 12th round, man. They're like, okay, pull him out now. But he was like a punch bag the whole fight.
Oh, it was ridiculous. If any more in the chat, any of the guys have any, then throw them in. We've got the light heavyweights coming up later, light heavyweight tournament. Also, we're going to be going over a fight from the past. Aussie 3-1 during the week. AJ versus Klitschko. Got a few questions as well, and a couple of guests, the first of which I will be bringing on very shortly. Anything you've been watching during the week, Ozzy, quickly before we get a question on the go? Any action? I know you've obviously rewatched Klitschko, Joshua.
Nothing, mate. I'm finding it like you as well. I mean, I'm still working Monday to Friday as it is, so it gives me something to do for that. And then, but weekends, trying to get out and about where possible. So kind of dwindling down on the boxing. Might start to pick up again, if there's a couple of recommendations and stuff. But no, all quiet, to be honest.
I'm pretty much the same. Ryan Deal threw something in last week in response to our perfect fighter discussion. He said, I was expecting a full 2-hour discussion on Yildirim versus Vinny, comparing the two's up jabs, etc. Unfortunately, he didn't get that, though. For his perfect fighter as well, he threw in the jab, actually, of Guillermo Jones versus Denis Lebedev, the right hand, Wilder's windmill versus Washington, the left hook, David Lemieux, the uppercut, Tyson Fury versus himself, the footwork of Emmanuel Augustus, the heart of Corrales versus Castillo, the chin, liking Usyk's chin, took bombs off Bradis and kept coming back and took a huge shot off Gassiev and didn't budge. Hope it doesn't all catch up on him against a B-level heavyweight. So that's Ryan Deal throwing that one in. Just before we move on to our next point of interest, Rapping Rob Kelly's on the call. How are you sounding, Roberto?
How am I doing? Okay?
Yeah, sounding lovely, sir. How are you?
Yeah, chilling. Man, chilling. The weather's after taking a bit of a fucking downturn here, so I'm indoors for the moment. It's a bit stormy outside. I'll see how I cope here. I'm charging the phone up. Going to crack a few cans open. You never know what could fucking happen tonight. Anything.
anything happens, anything could go. You been watching any boxing during the week, Rob, or you just been chilling out?
Yeah, I had a look at Linares Lomachenko again. I think I did a few 80s fights as well, but I can't really remember what I was watching. And Joshua Klitschko, obviously, for the pod. So 15-year anniversary of Castillo Corrales as well. So I had a little look back at that, which is always a good one. And yeah, that's it, man. Really pretty much taking a handy. Don't fuck all like everybody else, I suppose.
Yeah, I know. We'll get through. WBC unveiled special COVID-19 belt. This was a bit of a fluke, a bit of a parody.
Was this you?
No, that wasn't me who done that.
It's not really right.
No, I don't think so. But Ryan Deal came up with a good one. Let's see if I can find it here. He said, "Will they have a champion in remission?"
A good one. It's a good one.
You wouldn't put it past the WBC, would you? Right, while I try and get our first guest in.
When you put it up, I wasn't actually sure. I was like, is this fucking Wellings at it? Or is this...
It is something I would do. If I'd have thought of it, Rob, I would have done it, but I didn't. I didn't think of it, unfortunately. But maybe next time.
Right, that's it.
Yeah, but just while I bring our first guest in, Andy or Ozzy, do you want to mention talk actually on something Rob just mentioned there? 15-year anniversary of Corrales Castillo. I know I say this all the time, but where the hell does the time go? It's a timeless, classic fight, and we mentioned it last week. It's one that you would show a non-boxing fan or a casual what this sport is all about. It's an absolute cracker, holds up to this day.
Absolutely great fight, mate. I mean, obviously, it's always it gets transcended, by the great moment actually in the corner where when he gets told, you need to get inside of him now, or was he going to get stopped basically, and just turns it around with a fantastic left hook. It says Corrales as well had the old man it a wee bit as well, having to spit the mouthpiece out twice or three times. And that when he got dropped, try to buy a wee bit extra time. Badly swollen eyes and stuff, and I think he even got point deducted for it as well. And obviously then going back in the corner and just getting told, listen, you're fucking inside him a new boy, or you're getting stopped, and turns it round. And just okay, it was fight of the year as well, wasn't it? And probably boxing writers of the year, fight of the year. But I also remember the second fight. I think he got knocked out in 4 rounds. I think it was a situation with the weight as well, and. So yeah, it was fair. I need to go back and watch it actually again at some point. It's always good to go back and watch it. Between that, Gatti, yeah, it's one of the great fights to go back and watch.
Unreal, isn't it? Unreal fight, and it's one that would just never get boring either. Never get boring. I'm trying to think. Did it ever win any? I'm sure it must have won awards, mustn't it?
Yeah, it was fight of the year, definitely, mate.
Yeah.
Nice one, boys. I shall interrupt you briefly to bring in our first guest of the evening. Delighted to have Lewis van Potch on the call. How are you, Lewis?
Very good, thanks, mate. How's yourself?
Not too bad at all, actually. How are you coping with the lockdown this Sunday evening, then?
Well, yeah, lockdown's all right. I'm not actually missing boxing too much yet. I'm actually still enjoying the rest. I'm not having to go to the gym as much.
Yeah, I mean, you were working not just as a boxer, but are you still doing the old lift engineering as well?
Yes, mate, yeah, I'm still doing that. But I've been on furlough for the last few weeks, but actually back to work tomorrow, so see how that goes.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're enjoying the rest there. What would your weekly training routine have looked like? Because, I mean, you wouldn't do any sparring or anything, would you, Lewis?
No, obviously being a journeyman, as you all know, don't really do a lot of sparring. Don't really do a lot, sort of train as and when I can, really. Obviously, if I wasn't working full time, I'd probably train a lot more, but just sort of get some training sessions in when you can, really. Just sort of try and manage your weight the best you can, and just do the training as and when you can, really. Just know when you need to rest, because obviously working full time, fighting on the weekends, it's quite easy to burn out. So just gauging it from that, really.
How do you work around the diet and the weight and stuff? What's your natural weight? Are you sort of flexible depending on who calls you?
How do I manage the weight? I don't really. Yeah, my toughest opponent has probably always been the scales. So I do struggle to hold weight off. I don't carry weight very well. I'm only 5'6", so when I put a few pounds on, it's quite noticeable. So I just try and keep it. Just try and keep on top of it. It's a bit easier when I'm fighting every week because I've got that few hour window. on a Sunday where I can just eat and drink what I want.
Yeah.
And sort of try and get back onto some sort of routine in the weekdays. And then I sort of sit around, like, I sort of fight between super middle and light heavy. So if I can sit around like 175, 180 pounds, I can sort of cut the weight off. I can cut the weight off like that way. It's just keeping a bit of fluidity to the routine, which again is easier whilst I'm working and when I'm fighting every weekend.
Yeah. How soon did you realise that it was easier filling in slots on the away corner rather than running around selling tickets and trying to be a prospect?
Yeah, quite quickly actually. I sort of knew, I had a vague idea on how professional boxing works because a lad from my hometown was a prospect pro. Chris Higgs, his name was, and I used to go watch him fight. Because I was part of the gym that he was from. I was getting a pass to go backstage and that as well. So I was milling around the professional game before I turned pro. Sort of got told I should go pro as a prospect, got some tickets, etc. Because I was quite a popular lad around my hometown. People knew who I was. So selling tickets in the early stages probably wasn't going to be that much of an issue. But then I assumed because I wasn't going to be a world beater, I thought maybe if I really dedicated myself to it and had the right opportunities and everything fell into place perfectly, I might be able to fight for a British title if I'm very, very lucky. But then like I soon realised I don't really want to. For the first couple of years I did anyway, I just sort of get my life to it, and I trained 3 times a day, and I ate meticulously, and then I sort of started falling out of love of boxing because of that. I stopped enjoying the fights. I stopped enjoying going to the gym because of it. But then when I realised, so I got I won my first fight, and I lost my second fight as a prospect, and then I got a phone call a few weeks later and said, "Do I fancy a fight in London on a Friday?" And I was like, "Well," I was like, "How do you want me to sell tickets for that? I live in London." They went, "No, you're the away fight. You just turn up and fight." So I just turned up in a fort, and I beat the kid up, and I won the fight. And then I was like, "Why the hell?" For my last 2 fights, I've been running around like a madman trying to sell tickets, where I can literally just turn up and fight, and I get paid more money for it. So I was like, "This is ridiculous." So that's when the penny dropped. I had 1 or 2 more fights at home, intermittently whilst fighting on the road, and then that was it. I was thought, screw it, I'm not fighting at home shows anymore.
Yeah, fair play to you. You sort of answered this question then, because last year we spoke to a guy, Lee Connolly from Stockport, and he said to us that he wasn't really comfortable at first with the Journeyman tag because he felt that he could maybe do something, but after a while he realised where he was at in the sport and he actually embraced it. It sounds like you're the same.
Yeah, mate, exactly that. Like I always had to put in the amateur game. Obviously, as you know, you're a boxing man. You know that back in the day, it was point scoring system. If you one jab would score, etc. And now I never had that style. I was never a particularly tall kid, so my style was always get inside, work the body. So I was getting on the wrong end of a lot of decisions in amateurs. So I was like, when I turn pro, I can. This style is going to take me quite far. It's going to take me quite far, but then. Yeah, then I soon realised that the level of opposition, my fighting style was no longevity in it. So I just decided, like I said, I was quite happy to play the Journeyman role. I just slipped into it quite well. And I've fought at some great arenas, which I never would have done if I was a prospect.
I remember watching a documentary about Tony Booth, and he used to get dogs abuse. You know, you'd see him walk into the ring, they'd all be shouting at him, "You fat bastard," and all this type of stuff. Do you ever get any of that?
Sometimes you get a bit of hostility in the crowds, but generally, I think probably times have moved on a little bit since then. Like I don't think as a nation and in general, I don't think we're as savage as that anymore. Like back in the 90s, now it's all the football and hooligans and stuff, you know. But we don't really have all that anymore. So every now and then you get the occasional bit of abuse, or you just get like the off the cuff comment thrown at me. But I just like to rise to it. I like to rise to it and have a little bit of a laugh with it. Just like I like to think anyway. I've got a bit of an infectious personality, and like a chuck a smile at someone with a witty comment.
Yeah.
It's like again, I'm back on my side. Even if not on my side, just sort of making me realise I'm not there to be confrontational. Like I'm just there to have a bit of a laugh with it. So generally, that's what I try to do.
Yeah, fair comment. Just to remind our listeners, we have Lewis van Potch on the call over on Twitter at Poochie_17. A few of the guys are throwing in questions for you here. Trading Leather Boxing, Lewis says, who have you fought that you think has achieved the most in their career? Who has Lewis fought that he thinks has achieved the most in their career?
Oh, yeah, good question. Sam Egginton's probably up there. He's achieved everything except a world title, I'd say, at the moment. I've boxed him twice. There's a few lads there which I think will go all the way. So there's Lerone Richards. I say this all the time. He's just exceptional. He was just like, you have to be very good. You have to be very good to hurt me in a fight, and like sort of like, keep me very honest most of the time. So like, but I just couldn't near him. I just couldn't get. He was in second gear the whole fight and took me out in 3 rounds. And I was in 5th gear going backwards, just like I was just in absolute haze of what was going on. Yeah, so he's probably the one I'll say keep the eye on the most between him and Zach Parker. So, Sam Egginton keep the most.
Absolutely. MB says, who is the hardest fighter that's ever hit you? What's the hardest you've ever been hit?
So this is a good question though, because I campaign now, like I said, at super middleweight, light heavyweight, and but notoriously they're quite big hitters. I've only missed at this weight class like once, but that was by their own. And Darren Williams for twice, yeah. But like, I reckon the hardest I've been hit, like concussive power, was probably Joe Pigford. But I was down at I took the fight on like a week's notice at like light middleweight. This is like, I don't know, 5-6 years ago. So like, I didn't hold shots back very well then because I was trying to cut a lot of weight off. So I'd say between Joe Pigford and Darrell Williams, because Darrell Williams just caught me with overhand right, bang down the wind. I got back up in my defence, but yeah, between him and Darrell Williams, I'd say Joe Pigford, Darrell Williams.
Whenever you're fighting, sometimes like a prospect or a local ticket seller, do you often think to yourself, "Oh, this fellow ain't going anywhere"?
More often than not, you know, I don't really like answering this question because it sounds like I'm downplaying some achievements and that. But like I'm not an honest man. I'm honest with myself, and which I was in my early career, thinking I'm not going to really go anywhere with this sport, so cash my chips in. But yeah, there's a lot of people out there which are quite pretenders, and probably most of them probably aren't going to go anywhere. But to keep at it, lads, keep trying.
Yeah. I mean, is there a target of how many bouts you think you can get through? How long realistically do you think you can continue? Yeah,
so like my manager, my mate, trainer, Richard Farnan, we had this conversation that last year. I was like, I had a target in my head for so long just to get to 100 fights. And it was just like, as soon as I hit 100 fights, I just felt a bit empty. Felt a bit like I've done it now. I didn't really know what to do. And then so we had a bit of a chat, and I was like, I think I'm going to carry on for a bit, just see my medical out and see where it goes. But then in that time, I just got a lot of love for it even more. I probably just picked up a lot more experience and started enjoying the fights a lot more for what they are, etc., etc. Yeah, and then so I just take one medical at a time. I think one medical at a time. If I fail anything from my brain scan, it's probably time to hang it up. Like, it's not worth risking your health for. Yeah, I reckon everything goes to plan. Obviously, once we get out this pandemic, I should hit 200 fights, and then I'll just reassess it again from there, I think.
Yeah, that would be one hell of a milestone. I think, was it Peter Buckley made it to 300, didn't they?
Yeah, you got Peter Buckley and Christian Letty. They tied on 300. Then you got Kev McCauley, who's up there now with 220 fights or something, 225, 230 maybe. And then Ibra Riaz retired just recently on 190 something. So yeah, I'm coming up the rear between those guys, and I'm not far off.
What are you on at the moment, Lewis?
134.
134. Right, I was thinking of Daniel Thorpe. I remember he used to do the circuits, but he's on 139. He's a mere baby compared to some of those guys.
Yeah. It's funny. A few lads up there around it for ages, but just for some reason they didn't hit the 200 mark. And like, I started like my really busy activity quite late on in my Journeyman. Like, if I used to sort of maybe have 10, 15 fights a year, and then eventually become like 15, 20 fights. So like the year before, I had 33 fights, which I think, as far as I know, was what at least the United Kingdom record. Yeah.
What about locations? Any exotic locations? I haven't got your record up in front of me. They've ever taken you over to?
Yeah, I've only had a few fights abroad. I went to Norway.
Uh-huh.
That was good fun. That was a nice big pay-per-view card. They looked after us well there. I went to Switzerland. Looked after us very well, but it was like a really low key. If you're talking a small hall show, divide it by 10. That small hall shows in a car park. So it seems very exotic, but again, looked after us brilliantly. Saw some nice parts of the country. Yeah, that's about it really. And in terms of like exotic locations, been a few incredible ones over the years, but not many like mega fancy ones. Besides, like obviously the big UK arenas like the O2 Arena, the Manchester Arena, the Copper Box. Yeah, they're probably some of the best ones I've been at, just because you can say you fought at them, you know.
Yeah, it can be strange in some of these venues abroad. I remember a friend of mine saying he went to a fight, he covered a fight in Estonia. There was a local lad here fighting over there, and they had about 4 fights stretched over about 5 hours. One of them was an exhibition. One of them was like an amateur fight or something. It was completely bizarre.
Yeah, that's what happened in Switzerland. Yeah, it's like everyone was in the same stage room except me and my opponent, because we was the main event and the only professional fight. There was like a few kickboxing and karate exhibitions, some like break dances. It was really strange.
Yeah, one of our guys is throwing in a question for you here, Lewis. He says, do you think you will be more in demand, more than ever, because of the virus measures whenever boxing resumes?
I think eventually when boxing gets back to normal, I think we'll be in high demand, yeah. But I think when they come back in July, I don't think we will be, because I think they're going to put people with winning records together. I think that's going to be the plan. Is put like some nice like tasty domestic fights on, even if it's like people like Troy Williamson and Jack Flatley again. Those sort of fights, you know, where they're sort of bordering on Central area, English title, Southern area. Those sort of level fights, I think it's going to happen. Can't see us Journeyman get much work if we come back in July, as the guidelines we might be behind closed doors.
You mentioned earlier Richard. Is that who manages the calls, looks after you?
Yeah, he's my main man. He sorts me out with all the. He's my trainer as well, technically, but he lives over in Swindon. I live in Bristol, so we don't see much of him. Just looks after me. He's my mate as well, so he's actually busily looking out for the health of my career.
I read recently, Lewis, just finally, that you're going to fight a lad I know, Podrick McCrory. You were thinking in the changing room, sort of concerning yourself over his power?
Yeah, like that wasn't. Obviously, I knew he could whack a little bit, and I heard a few sparring tales and wives' tales that he could whack a bit. But it was just circumstantial. I was feeling a bit nervous for that one. It was just I had a really busy, heavy week at work. And I had about 3 or 4 hours the night before, because I had to be up early to get the flight to Belfast. So that was all a bit circumstantial as to why I was a bit more apprehensive than usual on that one.
Our friend Ames has just thrown a final one in for you here. He says, how does Lewis rate these YouTube boxers? You've seen a lot of talent in the ring at the start of their career. I wonder how you view the YouTube guys.
Oh, mate. There's funny one like the YouTube boxers, because like you watch them and it's just like, they're so raw the way they hold their stealth, the punches they throw in, the movement they do. It's like watching junior club shows. That's what I see it. They're not fluid in their movements like you see from actual professional fighters, even middle level amateur fighters. You just don't see that fluidity in their movements. So I think I'd love to give them another chance to give me a go in there.
Yeah, absolutely. Give him a call. He'll fight the YouTube boxers, no problem. It's been an absolute pleasure giving up your time this Sunday evening for us, Lewis. I really appreciate you coming on, sir.
Yeah, nice one, mate. Pleasure.
Absolutely brilliant. Take it easy, and hopefully you stay safe out there.
Yeah, good, steady, good. Ta-ra, mate.
Cheers, Lewis. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
At Pucci_17 there, Lewis Van Potch, Aussie. Good interview, wasn't it? The lifeblood of the sport. I know it's a cliche, but these guys keep things ticking over. And he's a character as well. Nice guy.
Yeah, great interview. And you're right, Steve. It's a fact. Without Journeyman, prospects wouldn't be nurtured. They know the role in the game, don't they? And the sad thing is that if they start winning, the phone goes quiet because some people just won't match their young prospects with a Journeyman that'll necessarily come to win. But as you say, they play a vital role in the sport. Great character, fair play to him. Aiming now for 200 fights, and then he'll reevaluate. As we say, it's interesting that he felt that he might not be as busy at the start, and it'll only pick up when shows relax more. Whereas I would have thought otherwise. Actually, I thought they'd look to do 2 bigger fights and then use the UK based Journeyman to to get some of the young prospects out as well. But we'll wait and see. But no, well done. I enjoyed that. Good listen.
Good stuff. Yeah, I mentioned Tony Booth during that. There was a Tony Booth documentary about 10, 15 years ago during the heights of Setanta Sports. I've uploaded it actually onto YouTube. So if you type in Tony Booth documentary, you'll see it on my YouTube channel. But he was one hell of a character, Booth. He went around all the club shows and they were giving him dogs abuse. And in one of his fights, he was clowning around because he was a bit of a character, going backwards and forwards, changing stances. In between rounds, referee, I think it was Bob Williams, comes over to the corner and tells him to stop messing about. He says, "You're not in a pantomime." And Booth turns around to him and goes, "Oh, yes, it is." So it's one of the true characters of the sport, old Tony Booth. Sounds like Lewis is a character as well. Let's move on then, Andy. Just first of all, I'm sure you enjoyed the interview there with old Lewis. He had plenty of interesting things to say. And Lerone Richards, who's actually been on this show, quite the prospect, according to Lewis, Andy.
Yeah, get a bit more of these kind of guys on as well. And that, I mean, it'd be good to hear some of the stories. And I don't know if it was Buckley. Or was it McDonough? Remember, to run the crowd or whatever it was, and he got offered like £100 just to go into the ring or something, and he forgot all his gear, and he had to get kitted out in the background. That's right, like gloves didn't fit him, and mouth guard didn't fit him, and all that sort of stuff. I remember reading one of these stories at least. Aye, but you give me more of his journeyman on that. It'd be good to hear some of their stories.
Yeah, I remember interviewing, what was he called? Rob Calloway. He was an American journeyman back in the day. I think he was from Texas or Alabama or Mississippi. It was one of the real backwaters. And he'd fought a lot of guys, the likes of Hasim Rahman and all this, Monty Barrett, all them fellas. And he was one fascinating character. Fought for IBU titles and WBF titles. And maybe try and get Rob Calloway on the call at some point in the future.
Big Clarence back when. I remember
Clarence Tillman, yeah.
I remember calling him out. I accidentally called him out on his weight one night, because I was going through box rec at the time. And I says, "I noticed you weighed something like £390 or what it fucking was." And he just burst out laughing. He said, "Cheers for reminding me." I can't. Aye, massive that night. Don't know what he's been doing now actually. And what about I will be a journeyman, I suppose, with Malik Scott. Him and he's by the inn. Some of the pictures, you see some of the pictures he's putting out on Facebook and on Instagram and that, man. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, quite the character is old Malik. Right, let's move on then before we get our second guest of the evening on the call. So, it wasn't last week, it was the week before we did the perfect boxer. Joe Kennedy threw the question in, how to construct the perfect boxer. And Lee the Alcoholic Potch, chat regular, said, how about construct the worst fighter based on his the worst attributes? Let's shift the criteria a little bit. So hopefully Ozzy, Andy and Rob can jump in and help construct the worst fighter. So first of all, let's go on to bodywork then, shall we? Ozzy, bodywork. So this is basically, rather than the Mike McCallum of boxing, whoever dishes out the best bodywork, this is the person who takes it worst to the body. I'm going for Tommy Coyle. He was once said that he has, what is it? Right, yeah. Chipsticks as ribs.
yeah, that's a good one actually. Yeah, Coyle. Every time he gets blasted in the gut, he's down on the deck. Yeah, Coyle's a good one.
Paddy Barnes.
Yeah, Paddy. Paddy as well.
Yeah. Sorry, Steve.
I remember Paddy tweeting out maybe about a month ago and that saying I think his daughter had been giving him jip in that because of the lockdown and that in the end she called them biscuit ribs or something like that. This is his 7-year-old daughter, man, trolling him. Oh Jesus, absolute quality.
So we've got Tommy Coyle, Paddy Barnes as well. Any additional ones to throw in there, Rob? Who are we going to go for on body work? We're constructing the worst fighter. We've shifted the criteria. Matthew Macklin's been thrown in here by MB.
See, I'd be in a bad position to comment on this because I'm only interested in watching the good fighters. So when I see a shit fighter, I'm not kind of like paying attention to what they do badly or whatever. I suppose Amir for hanging the old chin in the air is a good one. In terms of body, like who throws bad body punches or who takes a bad body shot.
Takes it worse to the body. Yeah, takes it worse.
Oh, I don't know, man. I don't. Do you know what? I don't. I can't remember.
Post Prime Hatton.
Post Prime Hatton. Yeah. I suppose that was a soft one, wasn't it? Like, I don't know. I don't know any fighter that likes it to the body. I remember there was who was it? Someone said to Jack Dempsey years ago. Was it Jack Dempsey or someone said no? Actually, someone said to Joe Lewis. Said, "Is it true that black fighters don't like it to the body?" And he said, "Well, I haven't met any white fighters that like it to the body either." That's about the hype you should for that one. I just been popping in and out. On a second.
Kovalev's a good one, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, Kovalev, definitely. Glass body.
Yeah, we've got a few there. Kovalev says MB. It's at a higher, much higher level though, isn't it? Paddy Barnes has a glass body, says boom. Poor old Paddy. Yeah, Coyle or Paddy are probably the main ones there. What about communication then? Who is it who really gets the heart racing when it comes to those post-fight interviews or smack talking at press conferences? I'm going for Scott Quigg on communication. We're constructing our fighter here. Scott Quigg.
I'm going to go for Joe Joyce.
I was going to say Dubois.
Yeah, that's a good one.
He's getting better though, I must admit.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, no, he is. To be fair, yeah, Joyce, Quigg's another. Yeah,
You underestimate.
Who's that, Rob?
Coley's not great. Coley's not great on the camera either, is he?
No.
Terry
Terry Flanagan was one as well. Lee the Alcoholic Frost says.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah,
Brunner.
The can man, Andy. You don't know the can man.
Come on, man.
We all know on the channel whose interviews you go back to more than anybody else's. It's got to be Smigga, hasn't it? Yes,
Smigga.
The golden tongue, Smigga.
The golden rat. No, but I remember Brunner's meltdown after the Pacquiao fight and that, saying it was all he did it for the hood. he did it for the hood. He did it for the hood, man. Who did Manny Pacquiao do it for? He did it for the whole nation, you twat.
Well, you boys have inadvertently touched on our next one. Actually, what about diet? This could constitute a few different things. The person who blows up really bad. The person who looks like a flipping gas victim on the scales. Who's diet?
Fat Smith, without a doubt. He just can't get enough of those chippies.
Big Smig.
Ricky was horrendous. Ricky hadn't shaved about 4 years off his career from overeating in between fights. Who else?
Errol Spence. I actually watched back an ESPN interview with him just last week there. He says he makes welterweight from 185 pounds.
Fucking hell, really?
Every fight in that. How's that possible?
I don't know. Tony used to make 160 from 200 pounds, didn't he? Because he was a linebacker or something before he was a boxer. So I don't know.
Poor eye. But jeez.
As well, yeah.
Mike Alvarado, I was thinking as well.
Cal Brook.
Frankie Gavin.
Brandon Beals.
Yeah. Funtime Frankie.
Oh, yeah, Frankie, that's a good one. His kebab diet.
Funtime Frankie Gavin, yeah. Box 7 pack because he couldn't be arsed making weight.
Right, boys, while I ring up our next guest, I'll throw the next one in, talk between yourselves. So this could keep you going for a while. What about footwork? We're not talking about Pernell Whitaker here. I'm talking about the Robert Helenius, Nikolai Valuev school of footwork.
Ooh. There's a few African fighters you could throw in there. Who was the one ended up having his soul's cut in the ring, remember, his trap just recently, actually.
The one that Anthony Fowler boxed.
Yeah. What was his name?
Yeah, he's got to get it because he was on like a pair of ice skates. What was his name? I'll think of his name.
Fucking name. I think his name. Charles Martin. You got pretty poor footwork. Oh, I tell you what.
Theophilus Tete was the one that Fowler and the guy had to cut his soles of his boots with a knife and stuff like that.
Deontay Wilder.
Yeah.
Horrible
Yeah,
footwork.
I share that.
Big fighter who, well, he was an ex-world champion, but he had pretty poor footwork, I thought, was big Rocky Marciano.
Rocky Marciano, big call there from Andy. Delighted to welcome our second guest of the evening on the call. It's Karl Greaves. How are you, Karl?
Hi, Steve. You okay?
Not too bad at all. How are you coping with this lockdown situation then?
Yeah, it's just starting to get to me now. Enjoyed the first few weeks. Most time I've ever had off from the gym. I mean, the longest I've had off is 2 weeks. So it's really nice spending quality time with the family. But it's time to get itchy knuckles now. I want to get back in the gym and start working with the fighters. But after today's announcement, it don't look like it's going to be happening for probably till July.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, isn't it? I mean, talking of your fighters, have you been receiving calls from them asking for advice or reassurance?
Yeah, I'm in contact with them regularly, sending messages out to them and that. I mean, obviously, I manage about 40 fighters, train about 9 now. So just try to keep in contact with them as much as I can. But we all nothing we can do really. I mean, they're all ticking over and that, but it's not looking very good for small or boxing. I mean, it's not looking like it's going to be happening for a good while yet. And even when it finally does, I mean, there's still going to be restrictions and that. It's just going to be very difficult.
Yeah, I've got the British Boxing Board of Control, the 5-page document out in front of me here. There's a few things to go over. I mean, things that strike me as well, fighting without any fans. We've been asking our guests about this. Also, boxers can't spit in their respective corners. No ring announcers. It's a strange one, isn't it?
Yeah, it's going to be. I mean, I know that TV's desperate for live content, live sports, so they're going to be doing the very best to be trying to get it underway. I mean, obviously Matchroom and Warren and obviously possibly Hennessy, but I mean, the restrictions in place, I mean, maximum 5 fights, no championship contest to start with. There's not going to be a lot of options and a lot of chances for the small all fighters because they're going to want to try and keep the fighters busy between themselves. So they'll probably put the fighters in with each other and just try and make it as entertaining and try and get 50-50 fights. But it's just not looking very good for promoters with no TV. I mean, it's sad really because I was on a bit of a roll really. Everything was going well. I've got some great prospects, some really good fighters coming through. And that is now where I've not really got many at the championship level. I'm back in the rebuilding stage where I'm bringing a lot of fighters through again now, like I did a few years ago. They're all from 1-0 to 10-0. So it's doing a good job getting to that level again. But it's just it's a brick wall now.
Yeah, you mentioned that. I don't want to caveat every question by saying, well, given the circumstances, we all know what the circumstances are. But obviously, Josh Kelly, David Avanesian was something that we're all looking forward to. Again, it's been rolled back.
Yeah, that's a really bad one. That is. I mean, that's 2 training camps I put in with David now, and obviously nothing's happened. They both fell through. So that's really disappointing. I mean, it was 2 weeks out of the fight. Obviously, we got the call. I think it was on the Tuesday. I mean, David was flying back home on the Wednesday because we kept him here and we kept training, but we just knew it was going to happen. But we just had to keep training and keep sparring, doing everything we could in case they managed to get it on. But I think the writing was on the wall and it was never going to happen. And 2 weeks out, we got the call and it was devastating. David's gone back. I mean, I think Russia's finally in lockdown now. I mean, they was a bit late going into lockdown, so obviously David had a bit more time away from lockdown than what we had when he got back home. But I spoke to him, I speak to him regularly, but last week he said that we're under proper lockdown now, so that's not looking very good. And even happening behind closed doors, I mean, obviously it's getting David into the country, which is going to be difficult. And I've also heard that Josh Kelly wouldn't entertain a fight behind closed doors with no crowd, so it's just not looking good, that fight.
Yeah, it's strange. It's easy for me to sit here and say, the board, they said this and that's not realistic. But, I suppose from their point of view, they've got to put something out. But seeing things like boxers may not spit in their respective corners. I mean, I remember Kieran Healy. He used to unblock his nose in the middle of the ring like every round. I mean, how you get around it?
I mean, obviously that's tonight. Obviously, we've just had the announcement. But, I mean, if they're not going to open gyms until July, I mean, our fighters meant to spar and do pads and what have you. I mean, obviously some fighters are fortunate they've got the dads that train them so they can do the pads and that. But it's the sparring and that. If gyms are not allowed to be open till July, I expected boxing to resume in July on TV because, I mean, fighters are just not going to be able to have the preparation. They're not going to do the sparring, the proper pad work, and it's just not good for them. So I don't know how they're going to get around that until they open the gyms. But I mean, there's just no signs of the gyms being open, I don't think, until July at least.
Yeah, the guys in the chat aren't too hopeful either. We were talking to Lewis Van Potch just before you came on the call. We thought that the Journeymen might have a bit more of a chance of getting some work, but Lewis didn't seem too hopeful that he would get more work than usual.
No, definitely not, because, I mean, if the shows are limited to 5 fights behind closed doors, then obviously the promoters are going to have to put on the most competitive fights possible for TV. So I can't see any chances for the Journeyman. I mean, I did see a couple of tweets out for 1 or 2 people saying, great news for British Journeymen, they're not going to bring in no foreigners over because they're not allowed in the country, so be more chance for Journeymen to get work. But to me, that's just nonsense, because if they've only got 5 fights, 5 fight cards, and they're all going to be shown live on TV, then they're going to have to be competitive. And with all due respect to Journeymen, they're the ones that's obviously there to be beat.
Out of all the suggestions and the things being put forward, in your expert opinion, is there anything that people aren't mentioning that there should be? And, you know, your own thoughts really on when we resume, what direction we should go in?
I mean, when we resume, I mean, there's still going to be obviously guidelines and restrictions, so it's going to be difficult. I mean, if they put a lot, if the restrictions get lifted to say 500 maximum, then for the likes of me that could work, because I could put five fight shows on with 500 people maximum, and obviously them sort of restrictions are going to be okay. But I just can't see it. I mean, it's just sad times and very disheartening for everybody involved in, not just in boxing but all sports. I mean, even football, they're on about the Premier League starting in July. Not starting, but obviously carrying on, finishing the season from June. But like I say, how can it be possible if they can't have contact and be near each other to train? I mean, it's just crazy.
Yeah, there's going to be things happening. Like one of our guys in the chat says the vultures might be sniffing around, turning young fighters' heads to get fed to Olympians and stuff like that. There might be guys who are going to come out of the sport altogether, you know, and have to take another job, never return to the ring.
Yeah, that's what's going to happen. I mean, a lot of my fighters are very disheartened, and I mean, we thought that things. Well, I knew that things weren't going to get changed from tonight's announcement, but a lot of people was hopeful that gyms would be mentioned, but it hasn't been mentioned, and I really can't see gyms being open for a while. It's just gonna keep putting. The longer the fighters are away from the gyms and away from boxing, it's just gonna obviously, you know what I mean, make them further away from wanting to come back, because it's just going to be so much for them to do when they do come back. They're going to be well out of the time. Is going to be out. There's no sparring, no pads. It's very difficult for them.
Just final one for you then, Karl, before we let you go. Ozzy's asking, so if you were to put on a small hall show, I mean, what are the type of costs we're looking at the moment?
It depends what you can get your opponents for, but to put a small hall show on, I think you're looking between the region of 20 and 30 grand.
Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously, without any, if you're doing it behind closed doors with no TV revenue, it's just impossible. I mean, unless you're stupid enough a promoter to just chuck a load of money at it with no return, but no one in the right mind would do that. I mean, I've been saying all along, we rely on the gate. I mean, that's where our revenue comes from, the gate and a bit of sponsorship. But even if you got sponsorship to help cover the costs, I mean, they're not getting any advertisement back. They're not getting anybody to see their advertising, or you know what I mean. So it's just not going to be possible.
Wouldn't have thought so. Hopefully next time we get you on, we'll have a bit more positivity. Things aren't. There's no light at the end of the tunnel at the moment, unfortunately.
No, not at the minute. We're all in doom and gloom. We're all in the same boat. I mean, it's sad times. I mean, there's people dying and that. We've got to think of the health, your wealth at the end of the day. So, I mean, we're all on about boxing resuming and sport, but there's people people dying all over the world, which is very sad. So we just got to get over this crisis and obviously get back to normal as soon as we can.
Yeah, Samo Mason said to us last week it's maybe a chance to just put things into perspective and slow down a bit, I suppose.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. I mean, it's just we've had a chance to reflect on a lot of things while we've had the lockdown, but as far as boxing is concerned, it's not looking good.
Unfortunately not. Thanks to you, Carl, for joining us on this Sunday evening. Appreciate you giving your time up, sir.
Thanks very much. Take care.
All the best. Bye-bye now. Bye-bye.
All the best. Bye-bye.
Karl Greaves there joining us on Sunday evening. Not a lot of positivity, naturally. I mean, guys like that, Ozzy, it's not hyperbole to say that, will Karl be putting shows on any time soon, within the next few years, even guys like Dennis Hobson, Big Mick, Steve Goodwin? I mean, I know it sounded a bit of a negative interview, but I mean, what can you do?
He's hit the nail on the head, and it's plain and simple. Without TV or without a bottomless pit of cash, small hall shows will not happen without a crowd. And it's simple as, I mean, look, some people might not think, but what did he say, 20 to 30 grand to put a small hall show on?
With no tickets?
With no tickets. It's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen. And as you say that, unless you've got somebody who, is happily just to get rid of some cash and just wants to help out a friend, but how many times are they going to ship 30 grand for nothing in return? I mean, I'd love to see the return on sponsorship anyway. And I think a lot is, it's like a gesture of goodwill type of thing. But when no one's going to be seeing it, then what is the point? And it's something from where it's hard to say that can your bigger promotional outfits or some TV companies help out. I'm sure they're going to be grateful for boxing, unless promoters are going to be looking to do 2 or 3 shows a week. I know Top Rank have mentioned that. They're going to have time to fill, because at the end of the day, everything that's on the channels at the moment is just reruns, or like they're trying to make things happen in terms of like you've got essentially like Sky Cricket's on at the moment. You've got people watching an old like Ashes Test series back, and they're commentating on it. So I mean, I would happily see like smaller hall boxing be given a well-deserved slot on the telly, because again, it keeps more people involved with the sport. And without small hall boxing, the sport will be damaged. You'll have a lot of fighters. It's a case of you either get the chance turning over with one of the big boys, or that's really it. Because if you lose your likes of Karl Greaves, Steve Wood, Steve Goodwin, who is going to bring these fighters through? The answer is nobody.
Jump in there, Andy. I believe you had something you wanted to mention.
Yeah, I was just wondering as well. I mean, there is talk of some of these football leagues starting back up in the coming weeks, and that. I mean, Spain were trying to get their leagues finished in over a 4 or 5 week period. Germany's was meant to be starting, I think it's next Saturday, but there's I think there's 2 teams in Germany who confirmed cases this virus, and then there's a few teams in Spain. So they're absolutely kidding themselves, actually. I mean, I was reading something the other day there that I think the only way out of this really is the vaccine. For us to get moving about and to have big crowds and events and stuff, it's going to take a vaccine. Because we just don't know doing enough testing. We just don't know who's got it, who's got the symptoms, who's asymptomatic when they're actually, they're most contagious and stuff. Just nobody knows. So as I say, it just takes one player or one fighter in a gym to get this virus, and the whole gym's going into quarantine for 14 days. It's just you just can't legislate for this shit.
Yeah, while you're mentioning football there, Andy, I'm going to give a little shout out here to a friend of the pod, a guy I've known for a few years called Dave Scott. He runs a charity in Scotland. It's like an anti-sectarian charity called Nil by Mouth. It's all about No, I'm going to give Dave a shout out because he's always bought my books, and he's a listener to the show, Boxing Monthly, big boxing fan. He works for this charity anyway, and they've done a book. I bought it for a tenner, and if you're a football fan, it's well worth a read. It's not about Rangers and Celtic. It's about all football rivalries across the world. It's only about 150 pages long. It's a tenner. All the proceeds go to that charity. If that's something you want to support or not, that's entirely up to you. But I wanted to give him a shout out because it's a real good read, and I very much enjoyed it. So shout out to Dave. I know he'll be listening. And maybe we'll move on. What about footwork then? We had Helenius, Nikolai Valuev. Didn't hear you boys what you came up with, Andy. What about on the old footwork of our super shit fighter?
But yeah, footwork. Charles Martin, like I said, and it wasn't against a worse fighter, but he was all-time great. Rocky Marciano never had the greatest footwork, but it made it work for him. Carl Fox, yeah, that's right. He never had good footwork either. Kessler probably the same, a bit of kind of plodder, kind of flat-footed.
It's tough though that if we're making this worst fighter and we're going to put someone like Froch's footwork in,
yeah.
I think we need to award it to that bloke Anthony Fowler.
Yeah,
beat up that Theophilus Tete. He couldn't even. So I think if we're talking about footwork, it has to be Theophilus Tete. Needed to take a knife to his boots to try and cut them, and it still made no difference. So yeah, I think we've got to go with Tete. The guy couldn't stand up.
Well, the interesting thing about that, Ozzy, is I can't remember if I mentioned it at the time, but Tete was from the same gym as a guy called Michael Barnor, who fought in the Devonish against a local Belfast fighter years ago. He was nicknamed the Shoe, and he was sliding around like he was on an ice rink, and in the end, they had to wrap masking tape around his boots. And he's from the same gym, I believe, as Tete. And David Mohan tweeted me the night Tete was fighting to remind me of Michael Barnor. Is this a coincidence? Or, is it the boots they're handing out in this particular prison canteen gym? Who knows?
Not a clue, but it's a scary thing that there's actually been two fighters from the same gym. Usually it's doping in the gym, but clearly this is one from where they're just wearing dodgy boots.
Must be. And Ricky Gravel says the Russian Hammer. Yeah, you wouldn't like to get hit by him, though, would you? Lead the Alcoholic Fudge says Paul Williams. It's a bit below the belt. Below the belt there. Alex Ustinov. Yeah, oh, God, yeah, him, Ustinov. He's the big lump, isn't he, as well? We've lost Rapping Rob Kelly. Let's move on to the next one then, our worst fighter. So far, we've got Tommy Coyle and Paddy Barnes for bodywork. Communication, Scott Quigg, Dubois, Flanagan, all been thrown in as well. Footwork, Lanius, Valuev, and a few others. Diet, Paul Smith. What about speed? They're not the fastest fighter, Ozzy, the slowest. I'm going for poor old Joe Joyce. He's by no means the worst fighter in the world, but those underwater punches.
Yeah, I was going to say Joe Joyce as well. Or Lucas Brown is another one.
Lucas Brown. Big Dominic Brazil, maybe, Andy?
Sam Peter.
Sam Peter.
Big George.
Oh, Big George. You wouldn't like to get hit by those boys, though, would you?
No, true. You said Valuev, eh?
Yeah, Nikolai Valuev as well.
Yeah,
he was slow, but effective. Slow, but effective. What about Chin then? Not the best Chin, the worst Chin. I'm going for a controversial one here because he was actually a very good fighter. But whenever somebody tagged Zab Judah on the chin, he did the donkey dance. He did the chicken dance, didn't he?
He did. But, am I saying Terry Norris had the greatest of chins? Am I making that up? Or am I just basing too much on that he sounds bad these days?
He sounds bad. He must have took a few shots. And I'll tell you one thing about Norris. He liked a disqualification, didn't he? He was brutal for hitting after the bell and hitting behind the head and stuff. So maybe he's the most temperamental fighter, Andy, possibly.
Yeah, he did like the kind of dirty stuff and that, but then he got it back. And some of the knockouts were pretty bad, actually, that I can recall.
Yeah, excellent fighter, Terry. Had a great run, but he was a little bit off the cuff. Aussie Amir Khan has had his name naturally thrown in for this one. Frank Bruno, old Frank, he was a stamina issue, I think, with Frank.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think Frank had the worst chin. As you say, it was more like along the lines of, see, when he got hit, it was more like he didn't really know what to do. He didn't grapple. He didn't take a knee. He just kind of held up there, held the hands up and let the guy tee off on him. And there might have been one time when he got knocked out, I think, but I don't think he had like the worst chin. What about Juan Manuel Lopez? Dropped a few times, hurt numerous times, into the trenches.
Big Price.
David Price getting a shout out. David Price could be for stamina, which is the next one. You could put Pricey and all.
What about Ndam? He's like a jack in a box.
Ndam, that's a good one, yeah.
Julian Jackson.
Julian, yeah.
Big Jules.
Danny Jacobs. Brings up the old chin argument, which I've never really got to the bottom of. Does getting knocked down and constantly get back up again means you got a bad chin or a good chin? We had this debate years ago about Tyson Fury. I'm not sure I've ever got to the bottom of it. I suppose it's about powers of recovery, isn't it?
I mean, it's the same. Obviously, at this point, someone would throw in Big Vladimir, but then he'd obviously done well to kind of cover up his chin. But there was always that, that argument. If you land on that chin, you know, and there's Big Pule, for example, the old dominant Klitschko, and then Pulev touches him with one hand, and he's fucking like, I think it was a jab actually, believe it or not, and Pulev's kind of like rocking a little bit, like, oh shit, there's the old chin again, so I think there was a big heavyweight back in the 80s, Steve. Was it Big Selden? Was he no?
Bruce
Bit of
Selden?
weak chin. Big Bruce side. Did he not have a bit of weak chin?
Can't remember enough about Bruce, to be honest with you, Andy. Can't think now.
Yeah.
I know Tyson banged him out, but that's a different level of power. Yeah, Frank was never on his back. What about skin then? Obviously, sort of complexion cut in. Someone mentioned Linares there. Ricky Hatton was bad. You wouldn't want Hatton's skin around the eyes, would you?
Walter McGowan.
Good
No,
shape.
you just need to take my word for it, but aye. See if you go back to in box wrestling, you look at some fighters who have got like numerous losses, and you'll see, well, they've got a lot of losses, but they've also got a lot of stoppages. And that you need to remember when was the cut rule changed, because a lot of fighters have got stoppages on their records. Stoppage defeats on their records because of cuts, and the cut got changed to either a technical decision or it was a technical draw if it gets stopped after before 4 rounds. So it's a relatively new thing, I'm sure. The cut rule.
Henry Cooper, he was a bad bleeder, wasn't he?
Oh aye. What do you call him? The worst one.
Jenkins, one for me. Chris Jenkins, he always gets cut.
Yeah.
Every time. I think he's had about 3 or 4 no contests because of cuts.
Yeah. Big Chuck Wepner.
Chuck Wepner, that's a good one, yeah. Huey Fury, Ricky Gravel says, well, I suppose you could have him for worse skin, couldn't you, really?
Doesn't cut easy, just pop.
Yeah. His back bleeds as well,
Stephen Smith, you could have his ear, I suppose, with Fighter's ear, maybe Holyfield's ear.
Yeah.
Have it stitched on. Right, okay, so what about ring IQ? I'm going for Dave Allen. Walk forward and take as many punches as you can.
Yeah, I'll agree with that one.
Lucas Brown in that regard, then.
Lucas Brown, yeah, that's a good one. Ring IQ.
Dave
and
Allen.
finally, our worst fighters, heart. I'm going for Victor Ortiz.
I knew you were going to say that. Worst heart of all time. I didn't want to throw Tyson in there because that was Tyson after he was used and abused and washed up in that, Jose Gonzalez against Ricky Burns completely shit the bed.
Oh, Gallotta, that's a good one. Who said that?
Oh yeah,
Swaggy
who said that one?
Yep.
Yes, well said, mate. Gallotta,
Well,
absolutely, mate.
Yeah.
That is the epitome of a waste of talent, by the way. That guy had every opportunity. I was listening to Swaggy. If you go and listen to Patrick O'Connor's podcast with, what's it called? Knuckles and Gloves. They actually do, I guess, like something like, I don't know if actually it's Gallotta himself or it's a topic on the wasted talents of all time and that. And Gallotta's in there. And they talk about him, he had the fan base. He was like an absolute nut job. He was in Poland and that. He was like, it could have easily been a criminal. Relocates to Chicago. He's got a big Polish population actually, and that. So he was a natural star. His talent and ability in that, he was absolutely fantastic to watch. Worked the body like nobody's business, but he just mentally couldn't keep it. Couldn't keep it together and folded when it mattered and that. And I mean, he got absolutely. He even got attacked at those fights with Bo and that. I mean, Bo's crowd were absolutely evil, but it was. That's a good call, Gallotta. Yeah, definitely.
Not Tyson. The Lennox Lewis fight was interesting with Gallotta. Was that? No, it was the Tyson one, wasn't it? When he quit and the corner man was desperate to get him to carry on, but it turned out later he had some dislodged bone in his nose or something it was about to spike his brain. Am I making that up? That happened, didn't it? I think. Was that the Tyson fight, wasn't it?
Was it?
I'm pretty sure. Didn't he quit against Tyson? And he's like, no. And the corner man's going, go back out there. And then afterwards, they said there was like some. Yeah, Lewis banged him out in a round. That's right. Because that was supposed to be a pretty
I was going to say because both.
But the Tyson fight, I mean, against Gallotta.
Yeah, I need to go back and watch it. Well, obviously, it'll be afterwards. I suppose you would have found out that.
Yeah, exactly. There was something weird about that anyway. Cash Ali, someone meant, Cash Ali's teeth. Maybe we could add them in. Oliver McCall had heart. He was just mentally fragile. Yeah, I don't really want to go into that territory. Smido's with us. Let's move on. How are you, Smido? Keeping all right?
Good evening. Yeah, you'll have to bear with me. I'm currently painting my bathroom, but yeah, I'm here. Yo.
Brilliant. Smido's painting his bathroom. We'll call on you in future then, Smido, hopefully. Yeah, the boys are saying here, Andy, that it's right. It was what I described was right. Gotcha again, okay. Tyson. Yeah, I thought so. Right, let us move on then, boys. I want to do the light heavyweight tournament whenever Rapping Bob Kelly comes back, so we'll hold that off. So for the time being, should we go on to fight of the week? Ozzy, you have thrown a fight in for this week. Last week we did Groves against Potch 1. Tell us which fight it is and your initial thoughts this week, please.
Yep, so we're going to review Anthony Joshua against Vladimir Klitschko, which took
for fuck's sake.
What was it now? A couple of years ago now, that? What we're talking, 28? Back in the 2018?
17? Was that 17?
2017.
I think it was.
3 years ago. Jesus.
Jesus Christ, that's gone quick. Yeah, big fight. What was it, 90,000 at Wembley? Klitschko getting off the couch after 18 months sat out. Went in as the underdog from memory. I know, naturally, I mean, I picked him to win, as did others, but from a betting perspective, I know Joshua was the favourite. And what a good fight. I think it was plenty of people's fight of the years. Very, very close. I'm sure I think I clicked go ahead at the time of stoppage. I think rounds 5 and 6? Unbelievable, brilliant stuff. And then Joshua, fair play to him, pulled it out of the bag. And just annihilated Vlad with a huge uppercut in the 11th. But a great fight, and I think had Vlad been a bit fresher, I mean, I mentioned off air that he came in unreal shape, but it was just activity for him that maybe cost him, because when Joshua was down, his legs were gone, and I think if Vlad could have just smothered him and basically landed, consistently, it may have been a completely different story.
Go on then, Andy. My initial thoughts are, I'm going to give credit to the big lad. It was my fight of the year. I thought it was an excellent fight. It made me. I was up on my seat for all the rounds, and whenever he went down, Joshua, I thought Klitschko was going to finish him, and then Joshua roaring back. I mean, I'm no fan, of the whole matchroom setup and that, but I thought it was an excellent fight, and I really enjoyed rewatching it.
Yeah, I would say definitely a good fight. Everybody was invested in it. Let's not kid on about it. Everybody was chatting about it. The whole Twitter at were on it. Press, magazines, everybody. I'll be honest. As we're talking about it, obviously off air, and that, I recall. I think I was siding with Klitschko, but it was definitely 50-50. To me, it was hard to call. And you need to remember this well. This was a Klitschko coming off the couch, as such, after 2 and a bit years after the Tyson Fury fight. And I hate the fucking people go back and use that Fury fight. Joshua did it better and stuff. Okay, it was a more exciting fight, but at the end of the day, styles make fights, and Tyson Fury hasn't got that type of style that Joshua's got. Whereas he can get into a firefight, he can have power to hurt someone, but at the same time, he's got that vulnerability. Whereas when he gets tagged, he really looks like he could go at any time. But it was one of the fights that I was invested in it to the point because I believed Klitschko had that one shot in him, and he took it. He took the shot. He landed that straight right hand. I always said that he could land. He landed it, and as Ozzy says, he missed that left hook. He just couldn't catch him, and he missed his chance. And fair play to Joshua, he actually managed to pull it together, and it was a fantastic ending. And a bit kind of smarmy with the stoppage and that, because when he stopped him, he kind of stepped into him and stuff. He says like, "I just beat you," and that wasn't into that at all, man. That was a dominant champion, but fair play to Joshua and that. But at the same time, what I maintain, that fight took so much out of Joshua to a point. Whereas again, a fighter coming out of 2 years in inactivity took him deep and took him hard, and it's one of the type of fights that kind of wears on you. And as it says, a few years later, he walks into Ruiz and stuff. It was like don't know if he walked into that Ruiz fight as like a champion, whereas everything was weighing heavy on him, and he needed to be beat just to kind of like try and reset himself and come back hungry enough. I don't know, but I says fair play to him. He got up. He looked like he was absolutely done when Klitschko dropped him. He come back and it was a 3-punch combo. I think it was a left hook right uppercut. And obviously, we've seen that meme right afterwards on Twitter and that with Klitschko's neck stretched like a fucking giraffe and that, Absolutely, it was a fantastic shot. And fair play to Klitschko as well, by the way, because against, we're talking about one of the worst chins there and stuff. Klitschko, again, he got up for that uppercut and he actually got stopped on his feet up against the ropes. So fair play to him, balls, heart, that's a guy who's in his, 41, 42 at the time?
Yeah. 41, I think.
It shows guts. He still wanted it and got up, and so fair play to him as well. And even in defeat, actually, Klitschko gained and gathered a lot of respect. And it's a pity Bert Sugar wasn't alive to see that actually, because he hated the Klitschkos, hated them with a passion. And I think if he'd been alive, actually, I think he'd have finally gave Klitschko his due just in regards for that, by the way, because, as I mentioned these last weekend, that there was Sergio Mora and Chris Mannix, I think. They were asking the question, should Klitschko come back and chase a legacy? I'm like, what are you talking about? I mean, the guy's got the third or the fourth highest heavyweight title defences in history. Gave him his respect, any day. He beat his era as his era, right? It's maybe weak, it's maybe poor in that, but he beat every mandatory challenge that was put before him. He fought them and either beat them or he defeated them in a rematch, or Patrick Fury and Joshua obviously as well. But gave him his due, and I'll give Joshua his due as well for that I'll say come from behind type for performance. But I would say as well as the scorecards, because the way it was going, actually, you did think that Klitschko was getting a wee bit kind of more into the fight, and I don't know how I need to go back and check it again what my scorecard was, but I had it close, and I think some of the scorecards was it maybe 3 or 4 rounds to Joshua and stuff.
I have them here, Andy. Steve Weisfeld had it 95-93 to Klitschko. Nelson Vasquez had it 95-93 the other way, and the esteemed Donald Trellasini had it 96-93 to Joshua.
There you go. So I need to have a wee chat with Donny again when I see him and stuff. But close. It was close. I would say point either side possible. I need to go back and score that actually, but I would probably say I had probably Klitschko just edging that actually. I could maybe go back and watch it tonight and say that he was definitely winning it.
Yeah, he was definitely taking over in the fight, and I had him ahead. And then, like I said, Joshua pulled it out the bag. I mean, you look at the cards now, and it wouldn't have made any difference, really. I think going at that, he would have at best got a draw. Couldn't have won on Trella's card. Had Klitschko stayed on his feet and won the rounds. But that saying, great fight. But I agree with you, Andy. There, I do wonder if it took a bit out of Joshua as well. Whiskers were really tested then in terms of that. Just a big right hand down, straight down the funnel, bang on the chin. And I say again that had Klitschko been able to land with that left hook as Joshua was on his way down, I think that would have knocked out Joshua completely.
Just like Wilder did with the Fury when he had to bang.
Yeah, and he didn't do that. And Joshua had a bit of time when he got up as well. It was very good from him, considering a guy who was, was technically still learning on the job and hadn't been hurt that much. He got up and he managed to buy a precious few seconds. And as we say, I think a lot of boxing fans look back and probably do think that if Lad could have just stepped on the gas and swarmed Joshua, we would have been ultimately would have been talking about something completely different. And who knows what would have happened and what state boxing would be in today. But a brilliant fight. Certainly can't criticise anybody for that. The styles matched tremendously well. And it's certainly not a boring watch when you look back at it.
Just one thing about what Mora said that about the legacies and stuff. when I mentioned that, now I recall actually, I remember saying that I wanted Klitschko to win, and again, it's not this anti-Joshua, it's not this Anthony Joshua thing. It's we've perceived got type reputation in that. I wanted it purely for Klitschko's legacy, as I say, because it was one of the things in that I grew to respect him because he was born champion. Who remembers the Sultan Ibragimov fight?
That was one of the worst fights of all time. Don't mention that.
I will defy anyone who's wanting to go back and watch that fight again and just say, listen, Johnny Nelson was more entertaining than that. Holy Christ, that was porn. But in the end, he won my respect. Never made an excuse. Fought everybody, as I says.
That was for a world title, wasn't it? Wasn't it Ibragimov?
It was unification. Unification fight, I'm sure.
IBF champion. Was it IBF champion? I think, wasn't he?
Sure it was, mate. I'm sure it was a unification fight.
Sultan Ibragimov's brother Timur was bad. I remember him having like a Broadway boxing fight, and his corner got that frustrated after the 8th round. The wee corner man says to him, "If you don't start throwing some punches next time you come back to this corner, we're not going to be here." That's how bad the Ibragimovs were.
Shit.
But as for the Klitschkos, they had to win over the Americans, didn't they? Because especially Vlad, after he quit against Bird, which in hindsight was the correct decision because of his rotator cuff. Larry sort of shit on him, didn't he, after that fight? And Vlad obviously blew out against Purity, blew out against Brewster, got knocked out by Sanders, looked like shit against Devarel Williamson. And they always had Vitali, sorry. He got his reputation back somewhat with the Lennox Lewis fight, and Vlad built a reputation in the end. Back up again as well, but the Americans were never really sold on him, which follows on to your point about Moore and that saying that he could come back and build a legacy, which was ridiculous.
It's absolutely, mate, absolutely. Merchant was pretty brutal in Vitali in that because he was winning the fight easily. He was pissed out of the park. Rotator cuff, you've seen like Kazagi, for example, fight with broken hands. We've seen Floyd Mayweather fight with broken hands. It sounds, even these days, this to some of the snowflakes and stuff, but they're fucking boxers. They're expected to go above and beyond, and that's what Larry Merchant was kind of getting at. You've got a sore shoulder, so what? Get on with it. I remember was it Arturo Gatti against Mickey Ward, that he came back to the corner. I think I broke my hand, and his brother's like, he's like, what do you want me to do about it? No, it was Mickey Ward. Sorry. He said, what do you want me to do about it? My daughter just come to say good night to me. Sorry, guys. So he's like, he broke his hand and that. He says, what do you want me to do about it? He says, no, I've got to keep fighting. That's the mentality of these guys,
Yeah. Smido, you're obviously a big AJ fan. What do you remember of that night of, 29th of April, 2017?
You're a hater! But saying I'm a big AJ fan is doing me a disservice to bear, but I'm happy to take anything you throw at me. I was actually on my honeymoon. I was in Florida, and I deliberately made that Saturday a stay by the pool day, and got away with it. I had no means of watching it, and literally until Buffer was saying, let's get ready to rumble, and I accosted a fellow Brit in the lobby of a hotel. And he had it on his phone. He was a Chelsea fan, and we watched it from there. Obviously, it was a great fight, as you guys say, to and fro. I think we learnt. I think it was perfect matchmaking. To be fair, as mentioned, Klitschko was out the ring for a couple of years, but he had the name kind of thing and the history, and obviously the link to Fury. And I never bought the, never will buy the comparisons in so far to say as Joshua knocked him out and Fury didn't. I think that was. That's not a comparison to make, like you say, 2 years out. I think Klitschko was 41, 42 at the time. In great shape. Spoke really well, promoted it really well. I just thought it was perfect matchmaking. And as someone's already mentioned, Joshua was still learning, very much so, learning on the job there. The one thing I didn't like is that they tried to claim it was a unification. They got the WBA belt out of pretty much nowhere. Obviously, Klitschko did not own that belt beforehand going into the fight, and neither did Joshua. That came out of nowhere, some vacant bullshit. I didn't like that, never have. And, that Eddie Hearn still says now about, unified against Klitschko, defended against such and such, not buying it. I still don't know how Joshua got up from that right hand. It would have killed people, literally. I do not know how he got up from that. Perfectly landed shot, perfectly weighted, full extension. And how he got up from that, I do not know. He did in that fight similar to what he did against Ruiz in the first fight, in that got knocked down bad and tried to take I know he eventually got beat by Ruiz, but yeah, tried to take a few rounds off. You know, the 3 rounds that directly preceded the Joshua knockdown weren't that exciting really, because Joshua was trying to get his marbles back straight and yeah, try and get back into the fight, which he did successfully, and obviously that the end result will back that up for him. But yeah, that I thought it was like I say, perfect matchmaking, and the ending, like Andy said, that uppercut will be iconic. The event in general was iconic with the Wembley, beating my mate's record to 90,000. And I don't know, as I remember it, correct me if I'm wrong, that uppercut, it didn't actually go down directly from that shot. That was the beginning of the end, don't get me wrong, but I don't think he directly went down from that shot. It was a bit of a bumbling knockdown, and like you say, he still got knocked out on. He was still on his feet when he got knocked down. So, you know, Klitschko, as you guys have alluded to, was he had a bit of a full circle really with the Yank, and well, particularly the British fans and possibly the Yanks as well, whereby me included were like, oh, he's boring. Do we want to watch him against, you know, I mean, the Mormecks and, you know, the Pianettas and people like that. There were some absolute dross fights. But yeah, he kind of came round. He showed his intelligence, and I mean, he speaks brilliant English against Hay, and then at a lower level against Fury, because I can't even remember what channel that was on at the time. And then with Joshua, like I say, spoke well before and spoke really well afterwards. They had the carrot of the rematch, I think, was directly after, and then he made his decision whenever he did, and yeah, that was it. It was history, and yeah, well, undoubtedly the most entertaining fight Joshua's been in, but is in entertaining fights regularly with his vulnerability, etc. That's been exposed since then. Did it take something out of him? It sure did, but let's remember he probably learnt a hell of a lot there as well. Not all of it has been implemented 100% of the time, as we've seen, but he definitely learnt as much as he lost, I would imagine.
Well said, Smitho. I don't know if you want to hang around for our light heavyweight tournament, but don't run off too quickly, because I have a Tyson Fury question coming up right your way after we bring in rapping Rob Kelly. Just to finish off this segment, we're going back in time, Rob, to 2017 April. AJ against Vladimir Klitschko. Any thoughts? Any overwhelming emotions, Rob, on that one?
Hold on. You can hear me, yeah?
We can hear you.
Hello?
We can hear you.
Sorry. Yeah, no, my overriding memory of it is it was the first time I actually lost the plot on the pod the next night, because I'd only just joined the panel. Well, I had come on. I think I'd asked to come on. He let me on a couple of weeks, and I think we'd done Ward Kovalev, and that maybe it's the first fight, or before the second fight, rather. And I'm back on every week by the time Joshua Klitschko happens. I think that might have been my first weekly. Probably could have been my first weekly appearance on the pod, and or second, and then after that I was back. But I remember, like, when I first did the pod, I was kind of completely like fucking Max Kellerman and everything. Like, I had no fucking personality on it, because I was like, I didn't really know what to expect. You know, that was kind of out of my comfort zone from doing music, and then I kind of just relaxed and went on a rant the next night about Joshua. And the thing that was annoying me the most is that they were building him up so much, and in retrospect it's understandable, because he had his moment and he won the fight, and the atmosphere and Jim Lampley crying and all that. Like, I kind of get it, but my point was the things that I had been saying all along were kind of true about Joshua. I always said, like, if you get him past 6 rounds, you can drown him. If his fundamentals weren't that great, although looking back at the fight, I thought he did better on the jab in the early rounds, but Klitschko was winning the battle of the jab. I think it's evident from the rewatch that Klitschko was spent in terms of his gas tank. I mean, he expended so much energy just from being on the balls of his toes for 4 rounds that by the time the knockdown came, AJ really should have finished him. I think looking back, you can see there's spots where AJ is vulnerable when he's on the attack after having someone hurt, as we saw in the Ruiz fight, because he shipped the left hook from Klitschko in the 4th round as well. I had him all at sea, and he just acknowledged it. The only one that copped it on the panel was actually Potch. Smith and all were up on their seats ready for the fucking stoppage. I predicted before the fight that Klitschko would win via the Kronk catch and shoot. and he wasn't fucking that far off. Like, he wasn't that far off. I think we saw susceptibility from AJ to a left hook in the Dillian White fight, the Klitschko fight, and obviously later in the Ruiz fight. So he holds the right hand a little bit low, especially when he's on the attack. What to say about the fight? I mean, it fucking really made AJ, didn't it? Like, it vindicated Eddie Hearn that AJ was the man. Fury was out of the fucking picture at this stage, 25 stone, sitting on the sofa watching the fight. You know, the path was clear for them to move on to heavyweight domination and fight guys like Charles Martin and fucking whoever else, and not Charles Martin, whoever came after Klitschko. Good fight, great fight, but I think Vladimir was done. Not taking anything away from AJ because he did grit it out. I thought after he got hurt, he did a lot of things that we saw that he's probably going to do in his career again when he gets hurt. He spit the mouthpiece out. He spit it out against Ruiz, buying some time. Andy mentioned that with Castillo Corrales earlier. You could say old man in it, or you could say in his case it looks more like he's completely fucking, when he's blown, he's just blown and he's looking for anything to try and keep him alive in the fight. It worked that night because Vladimir was done. Like I said, after 4 rounds he was done. He hadn't got it in him left to finish him when he had him hurt. And that and another thing, how big was AJ that night? Holy fuck, how big was he? He was like a Hulk that night. So fucking big.
No steroids. No steroids.
I'm not implying anything. I'm just saying he was
250 dead on, wasn't he? 250 pounds.
He was massive that night.
20 pounds extra, by the way. 20 pounds extra.
Klitschko was very light. Klitschko was very light as well that night. I think he'd been the lightest he'd been in fucking 3 years. So I don't know if that worked against him. Maybe he could have put more sauce on the shots, a bit heavier. But no, a great fight. I give it to the two of them. Both of them left it in the ring that night. I can't really take anything away from Joshua, but at the time I remember boiling on the pod the next night saying, this fucking guy is fucking there for the taking. Like, don't be saying he's the next Ali and all that. Like, his day is coming. Like, but yeah, great fight looking back.
There you go, everybody enjoying the old Joshua Klitschko. I think next week we'll probably do an Eric Morales fight. Somebody was asking me during the week on Facebook about Eric Morales, and I've forgotten to screenshot the comment, but we'll maybe go back on the Morales fight and enjoy him at his prime. You're listening to episode 372 of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast. Rapping Rob Kelly there, you heard from Ozzy, Andy and Smido are still on the call. Don't forget to hit the like button if you enjoy what you're listening to, or the dislike button if you think we're shit, whatever suits. Okay then, Smido, Liam Jordan's been in touch. Bit of a mishmash question, but I'm sure you'll get a chance to say what you think, Adam. He says, I've been down a massive YouTube dark hole, which was a bit concerning, but he went on to say, watching all Tyson Fury's early fights, did anyone outside of his team expect him to be where he is now? Peds or not, he was British level at best. Or is it just showing the lack of great heavyweights around? In my opinion, he beats them all easy. So he's talking about Joshua, Wilder and all them. Is the heavyweight title overrated even? Says Liam. And I know you've had a bit of an about turn on Fury, haven't you, Smido? Tell us more. You there, Smid? You just battered somebody with a frying pan.
Yeah, I'm just smashing the house up. Yeah, just
calm down, Smid, will you?
Yeah. Yeah,
you're a hater!
Before I caused chaos. Yeah, I was actually at Fury's second fight, believe it or not.
You're a bit distant, Smid. Shout out to us.
Can you hear me? Hello.
Quite light.
I was actually at Fury's second fight at the Nottingham Arena on a Carl Froch undercard, I think. And I remember it because his shorts, he'd lost a few pounds between fights number 1 and 2, and he kept having to pull his shorts up on his second fight, and he was wearing the same shorts back then. But yeah, I think he was quite hyped actually. Fury, he was obviously a big signing for Mick at the time, getting the Channel 5 coverage. There was always the
Am I the only one who's not hearing Smido?
Yeah, I lost him.
I think he's been killed off.
It's all right. You can get him for an hour on Big Russell's show anyway if you're missing
You're a hater.
Starts cutting out when
Go on, Smid. Try again. Can hear you now.
Rob Kelly's fault.
What?
It's rapping Rob Kelly's fault. Whenever he comes on, it throws my mic off. I've bashed up the kitchen. I'm making a failure of the stream yard. I might as well pack up.
Your words, Smido. You're a failure of a husband and a failure. Oh dear, didn't take that too well. Smido's quit on air. Oh dear. Done a kill on us, Ozzy. What's happening?
We fell off the ladder down the bin, you know.
The voice of casual boxing has quit.
Smido has to learn to spit the mouthpiece out when he's in trouble.
What was he doing? He must have been up on the roof. The rod
He was
hole
in his
antenna.
bathrooms, you know.
It sounds like
sure.
it sounds like the missus fought back though, and she's bundled away through and tried to assault him with a couple of pans or something like that.
A white quitter.
He should come to Wexford where he should come to Wexford where allegedly fellas who are involved in that kind of behaviour get stabbed on a Saturday night. I'm not going to as the headlines, as the Gardaí are appealing for witnesses in a domestic in Wexford last night. So he should be thankful he's living in. Where's he living in?
Wigan.
Up the
Wigan.
Ulster somewhere, is he?
Wigan. He's in Wigan.
Yeah, not far from me, about 15 minutes away.
Get a good pie in Wigan, you would.
Oh, I'd say so. Pocket pie. Right, let's move on. Before we go on to Value of the Weeks, gentlemen, let's go on to our light heavyweight tournament. Previous winners of this particular tournament, you know the drill by now. Heavyweight was Larry Holmes, and last week Evander Holyfield was crowned as the cruiserweight king. We're on to the light heavyweights this week. I know the boys are all pumped up ready for this. Aussie's run off. I'm going to grab hold of you and drag you back, kicking or screaming. First quarterfinal then, Andy. Let's go to you, shall we? First quarterfinal of our light heavyweight tournament is Andre Ward versus Michael Spinks. Andre Ward versus Michael Spinks. You have 2 minutes, Andrew, starting from now.
I'm going to go Ward. I think more variety. Spinks was good, but I never really thought he was absolutely fantastic to watch. He was very, I thought, methodical and that very. How can I put this? Mikey
He looked a bit
Garcia.
stiff to me, I thought. He awkward looking.
He had bad knees for years, but he got that Mikey Garcia about him. You know, he'll do enough to win, but he'll no commit as such. I mean, there's no question about it. He fought some fantastic fighters. You know, obviously, well, I'll leave out his heavyweight, for example, but he fought like say Cal Wee. You know, remember as well, the light heavyweight division and the cruiserweight division. The light heavyweight around that time, the 70s and 80s, it was pretty good. Me and Murray Sutherland and as I say, Cal Wee was there at the time. Eddie Mustafa Muhammad, Marvin Johnson, that was about as well as he got the title late. Yaki Lopez. I just think there's more to Ward. I'd probably say we beat him on points. Again, 12 rounds. Putting everything in perspective with today's training techniques and diet and stuff like that, but I've got to factor in that I think, as I say, Spinks was riddled with knee problems and stuff. I think Ward definitely would have worked him out, outworked him, and probably hustled him really as well when he had to. I think he'd have won it well wide in points, so I'll go for Ward decision. Thank
you, Andrew. Let us move Andre Ward on to the semi-finals then. I'm going to leave quarterfinal 2. I was going to give it to Ozzy, but he's disappeared a second. I'll give that back to Andy. I'll hit you with quarterfinal 3, I think, Rob. This could be the tastiest of the 4. We're going for Bob Foster against Michael Moorer, WBO champion Michael Moorer, long reigning WBC champion Bob Foster. 2 excellent fighters.
Bob Foster, hell of a fighter. Very long. Yeah, could go 15 rounds, of course. I'm going to give that one to Michael Moorer. I think prime for prime, Michael Moorer is very underrated. So without going into too much of a technical analysis, I think Moorer has the capability of outpointing Foster. He was highly underrated fighter, Michael Moorer, and probably could have done more with his own career. Should have never got beaten by Big John's that night, in my opinion. But good fighter, Michael Moorer. I'm going to give that one to.
Interesting.
I
would have gone for Foster as well, actually, to be honest with you. But Rob has made the final decision there, gone for Michael Moorer. Right, let's move on to quarterfinal number 2. Andrew, 2 minutes or less. You have on Matthew Saad Mohammed versus Sergei Kovalev. I'm a massive Saad Mohammed fan, my favourite fighter of all time. But you might be surprised how I would pick this one. You go ahead first.
All right, so you're going for Sergei, are you?
I'm not going for Sergei, but I don't think it's as clear-cut as you think, as much of a Saad fan as I am.
I think it's a bloodbath, actually. I think both are dropped. The reason why I'm going for Sad, probably by stoppage, is I've seen him get up, and I'm a bit prejudiced by saying this because I'm a big Sad fan and that, but what you saw against Richie Cates, for example, and that, you know, I've seen Kovalev use excuses against Chilemba for winning fights, and I've seen him using excuses for losing fights and stuff. Again, it was a guy who dumped too much weight, can't hide the shots of the body, didn't have a really good gas tank, and if he's typical bully fighter, if his opponent didn't fold to him, he had no answers really as such. I mean, Ward, even though he got dropped in the first fight, he kind of came back at him, made adjustments to win the rematch. That okay, Ward lost the rematch. That, but I just think Muhammad would have been too gutsy, too ballsy, would have hung it out in the line there. And to be honest, okay, it's been my past prime, for example, but if you've seen like how Yard had Kovalev on the ropes, you know, basically kind of hanging on for a wee bit, I think Sad would have probably taken him out of there, actually, to be honest with you. So I'm going to go Sad Muhammad by stoppage.
Yeah, I agree. I think Saad would have stopped him about round 11. Saad had superhuman levels of recovery. He was such an exciting fighter, big puncher as well. And Kovalev, you know, someone in the chat put something interesting, which I was going to reference there. Let me see if I can get it. Saad had more when it mattered, said Joseph Kennedy. I agree with Joe there. He had more when it mattered. He was dropped by Mustafa Mohammed, beaten by Karwi as well. The thing is, though, at some point in the fight, Saad would have gone down. And if prime Kovalev, big puncher that he was, there's a chance he could have finished him off. So I don't think it's as clear-cut as you think. And I don't make Kovalev a completely overwhelming underdog in this one. I think it'd be a pretty even money fight. But Saad had more when it's mattered, and he would have kept on going, kept on getting up, providing Kovalev wouldn't have stopped him and got rid of him in the 11th round. I think so. Yeah, we'll move Saad Mohammed on to the semi-finals. Let's just delete the Crusher. Yep. Crusher's a good fighter too, though, in his prime, excellent fighter. To quarterfinal number 4, Rob. Let me just get the banner up. It is a fight that we wished would have happened. We all know what the outcome would have been. But again, like the previous fight, I know the winner, but I don't think it would have been as easy as people think. Roy Jones Jr. versus Dariusz Michalczewski. Rob, quarterfinal number 4.
Sorry, I lost you there, Steve, but I'm thinking it's Jones versus Michalczewski, is it?
It is indeed.
Michalczewski, rather. Michalczewski. I don't know. Prime
Spell
for
it.
prime, fucking IT. I think that prime for prime is hard to go against Jones. I don't care what kind of reputation Dariusz Michalczewski had. I don't care if he went to cruiserweight and won a title. I don't give a fuck. He's the only one in 8, I think, that people say that kind of tried to say that Jones ducked, or maybe the only possible other opponent to give him a career-defining fight, because he was devoid of a few of those, like, in his way, hence the move to heavyweight. But prime for prime, if Jones had his prime at 175, I'm not saying he was prime at 75, but if he has his prime at 75, can't touch him, and he sails past that one.
Yep, I agree, Andy. I think he does sail past it. Michalczewski is very solid, very dependable. I think he goes the distance. I think he's tough enough and he had a long enough reign and was experienced enough. And we're going prime for prime. This fight should have happened. Michalczewski wouldn't leave Germany. Jones wouldn't leave Pensacola, Florida, let alone America, because he got hosed in the 88 Olympics. We know that. Roy Jones, too athletic, too gifted, wins on points. But Michalczewski was no mug, and I think he goes the distance.
Well, I'm going to disagree slightly. I think Jones would stop him, or maybe make him quit, because one fight that always sticks in my mind, and I agree, Michalczewski was a solid operator, but that quit job against or the swan dive against Rocky Gianni the first time, he beat him in a rematch 3 or 4 years later, and he fucking bought that DQ big style. By the way, he refused to get up to fight on, and I just think with Jones, maybe no slightly at his peak at that point, but still winging in those shots, triple left hooks and stuff. I could maybe have seen him maybe kind of bail in the fight and that, maybe see a late Jones stoppage. But definitely when it should have happened. And believe it or not, actually, even when people might not believe this, but this goes back to this situation with Fury and Joshua, for example, about titles and lineal champions. Michalczewski was a lineal champion, and Roy Jones held all the belts. So there you go, the lineal champion and undisputed champion, and they never met. So yeah. Should have happened.
It should. Absolutely should have happened. Right, okay, so Roy Jones moves forward. Right, let me have a look here then. We'll go back to you. I think we'll go to you, Rob, actually, quarter semi-final rather than number one. So we've got Andre Ward through against Matthew Saad Mohammed. Rob, Andre Ward against Matthew Saad Mohammed. Still there, Rob? Let's have a look. Don't think we got Rob there. You hear me okay, Andy, still, yeah?
Yeah, I think he's dropped off. Is that Smithlow still on the call there, aye?
No. Rob's still on the call. Should be anyway. You there, Rob?
Should be.
We'll go to you, Andy. Andre Ward against Saad.
Hard one. I'm going to say Ward. Again, I've seen too many adjustments with Ward. He would have found a way, probably to win it on points, but definitely he would have known he would either been in the fight or definitely been in a fight. Yeah, it's a hard one. Yeah, no, it's not a hard one actually. I'm going to say Ward on points. He would probably make. I'm thinking something along the lines of the fights. Remember the fight he fought against what's his name? Edwin Rodriguez.
Yeah.
I got that type of fight. You know, he would basically nullify everything that Saad tried to do. He would grapple, he would hold, make it ugly, and just kind of, you know, maybe rub the head, come off the clinches and that, big shots at the body, and just kind of box and move and stuff, and just kind of try and keep it textbook as such. So I think Ward would probably win it on points.
Let's see if we've got Rob back with us for this second semi-final. This is going well. If you're listening on YouTube during the week, by the way, as Rob drops off, then let us know who you think would have won these ones. Yeah, Aussies away again. Okay. Michael Moore, Roy Jones, Andy. Oh, might have Rob and Rob actually back first. You there with us, Rob?
Sorry, yeah.
Whoa, he's in the wind.
Is it bad? Yeah. Hold on.
We can hear you now. Now. Michael Moore, Roy Jones, Rob.
Jones.
Not sure what he said there. I think he said Darius Michałowski to win the whole thing.
He's back.
No, Jones, 100%
Jones. Okay.
Is it Mac 9 weather there, by the way? Jesus, suffering.
I don't know what happened. It was this fucking scorcher yesterday. I turned the corner and I'm in fucking a hurricane. Hurricane Cadre, baby.
Okay, on to the final then, Andy. Let's see who shall win the light heavyweight tournament. You're the main man this week. Andre Ward against Roy Jones Jr. It would have been a fascinating affair.
What a fight! Holy fuck!
Roy Jones, Andre Ward. Oh my God.
No pressure, Andy.
Jesus Christ. Come on, you need to throw me some ideas here. I mean, I can like prime for prime. Oh, fucking hell.
Porky's Corner made a good point. He says, where's the final? Ward never fought outside
California.
Oakland. And Jones wouldn't leave Pensacola.
Aye, true. Honest to God.
Yeah, a few of the guys in the chat are mentioning people like Dick Tiger, Ezard Charles, Archie Moore. Obviously, these aren't the only 8 light heavyweights. I'm trying to make it a bit more recent so that we don't go into those old, having the guys watching Ezard Charles and all that. So I've tried to keep it a bit more recent. Ward's has got the dog in him, man. But I mean, I'm going to go off my head. I was a big Roy Jones Jr. fan. Peak Roy Jones Jr. I'm gonna have to go for Roy.
You think output? Is that what you're thinking? Output and movement.
You think as well, like Prime Jones handled James Toney. Is Ward better than Tony? I don't know. Like, he's probably,
and that's with one hand apparently as well. Jones had done it to Tony with one hand apparently.
Exactly. And like, do I think Roy Jones probably beats Marvin Hagler 60? Yeah. Does he beat anyone ever at 68? Probably, yeah. And does he beat anyone ever at 75? If he's in his absolute prime, over the fighters that competed at 75 over the years, take fucking Billy Conn, go back as far as fucking Billy Conn, I think Jones probably beats all of them. But then I haven't ever seen Andre Ward get beaten by that style, right? So Kovalev, if you say Kovalev beat him in the first fight, he did it off the jab and off raw power, but Jones wouldn't fight like that. So, but having said that, could Ward impose his style on Jones any better than James Toney did? I don't think he could, so I'd have to go Jones.
It's one of the fights. Genuine. It's one of the genuine matchups. You just don't know how it's going because you say there's nothing like Jones to kind of prepare for. Like, so, if you look at Ward's career, what is the closest thing he's faced to Roy Jones that you could think? That's
no one really. Like, no one. Not in his prime run. Like,
no, can't get anybody.
No.
I mean,
no.
Kessler was at that point on the slide. He's nothing like Jones. Speed.
Frotch very Roy Jones-esque.
There's nobody.
That Jones lead left hook and the athleticism, I just can't see it. It's close fight. I don't say Ward gets embarrassed now, but Jones is another level.
What you could say though is that Ward always finds a way to diffuse the style over a couple of rounds. Exactly. So over say 5 rounds, does he give Roy Jones, maybe not fucking Roy Jones runs away with it or whatever, but does he start to adjust to come on after maybe 5 or 6 flashy Roy Jones? He hadn't really got big one punch knockout power at 75. Having said that, clocked Kovalev on the chin as well as the body in the first fight and started the ball rolling like so.
Well, he caught him a right hand to the chin actually. Fucking rocked him big style in the rematch. Plus the body shot.
I think Roy Jones and Andrew Ward is such a fucking like scientist when it comes to breaking fighters down that he would have definitely had moments. So I don't know. Like again, I don't know. I'd say I'm going to edge towards Jones, but I don't really know, man. To be honest with you, could you see anyone beating Ward apart from Kovalev? You have to have a certain type of. You have to be a very big 175 to beat him, and have a pack a lot of power. I think to fucking probably knock him out to beat him. Like
there you go. There's what I'm thinking. Right. So I think the way we're talking here is we're talking a closest fight. We're basically siding with Jones, but I think, as you say, Ward isn't embarrassed because he's got more than enough about him to be competitive. I think it's the flashiness and the speed of Jones would look good against Ward, whereas Ward's not so much lack of power, but his actual punching ability kind of make it look like that was a big shot there by that maybe nicked around, for example, whereas Jones is maybe flying in with 3 hooks and a right hand to come off then finish off in the jab and that, whereas Ward's trying to time a right hand or a left hook to the body or whatever. And I just think Jones probably speed and activity would look better into what Ward's boxing would probably do. But again, Ward was always really good at catching your jab, and then coming back with a right hand. I'm going to say Jones. I will say Jones on points, but I wouldn't be surprised if we got a split decision on that type of thing. Yeah,
I agree. I'm just edging towards Jones. You mentioned something there about James Toney, Rob. How would you think Andre Ward off the cuff against Toney would go? Obviously, we're going prime for prime. Toney was hot and cold, wasn't it? But prime Toney.
Fucking Jesus Christ. When Toney was in his full swing, the only fighter that was out there that could defuse him was Roy Jones. Because when he's in full swing, dogging it, think of the unbeaten run he had after the Jones fight. Don't think he was ever knocked out. Fucking hard to go against James Toney in a prime. And his best performances were at 68, is when he was at his most fluid. But Andrew Ward would love a dirty fight with James Toney, man.
Yeah.
It'd be headbutt city, elbows, fucking taking it away to the body, the strength of Andre Ward on the inside. Like James Toney wouldn't be able to bully Ward on the inside the way he did maybe Iran Barkley, because Ward is so strong. Try and wrestle with Andre Ward, as I said before. Fucking, you're going to come off second. Like, he's brute strength. So I don't know, man. I don't know. Fucking, I love to see it. Do you know what I mean? It'd be one of them ones where I wouldn't give a fuck about the winner. But I do remember, obviously Toney fucking thinks he'd shit on everybody. But they made a comparison between him and Canelo, and he just burst out laughing. But Jones did something similar when they said to him after Triple G Canelo won. One of the up with him was like, "How do you think Prime Canelo or Golovkin would have got done against Prime Roy Jones?" And he just fucking burst out laughing. He was like, "Fucking none of them two would be able to touch me, Prime Roy Jones. We already know that." Like, so I thought that was pretty cool. Like, but I think probably Jones is the best of his. I always say I think fucking the two greatest fighters for me. Maybe I'm biased, like, or whatever. Not even biased, but my judgment on it is the two greatest fighters. Middleweight, fucking or whatever, like technical ability, were Ray Robinson, and then I put Roy Jones ahead of Hagler, Leonard, Hearns, and Duran, and that's high praise. Like, so I think Jones is one of the greatest fighters of all time. But as that, I think he probably wins.
Yeah, Jones is an amazing fighter. Ozzy, you're just back with us. I don't know if you have any brief comments on that final there. We've just seen Roy Jones Jr. Defeat Andre Ward in the final of the light heavyweights.
I can't add anything more. all three of you jumped in and covered it pretty much as it was. Agree that it had been very close, split decision. Would we have even seen a draw? Who knows on the judges' cards? Personally, I would side with Roy Jones. I just think he'd have that bit too much for Andre Ward, but an extremely close fight. One that is one of them that you wish you could have loved to see. But yeah, I thought you all put it well. Extremely, you put it well together. Sorry.
Yeah, one thing Jones came across during his career, also James Toney, was obviously the drugs. A few people have tagged me in over the week of the podcast. I think it's Highfield Boxing, the drug situation. I've listened to the whole thing, the whole 3 hours, and I can't add anything, to be honest. I thought it go over and listen to it. It's well worth a listen. Terry is the guy, and he interviews Larry Olabamiro. I can't add anything because those two are clearly experts in their field. I mean, you're better off just going and listening to it yourself. Some of it was interesting. Some of it was controversial. I didn't really agree with everything they said. A few things I had no knowledge about whatsoever, but it's worth just going and listening to it. There's no point in trying to get Larry on the show or anything because I wouldn't be able to do that scope of an interview with that type of knowledge by what they brought to the table. So go over and listen to that if you get a chance. Let's move on to Bellew of the Weeks. We've lost Rob, unfortunately. Hopefully he's alive. Ozzy's still with us, and so is Andy. Episode 372, Bellew of the Weeks. The first one came into me was GM Ross, nominated by Armola12. GM Ross said, the most underrated boxer right now, who doesn't get the love they deserve from the pugilistic pundits. And Armola12 jumped in and said, Prince Patel. I can't remember who nominated him for that, but anyway, Prince Patel doesn't get the love from the pundits, apparently, according to this gentleman. Aaron Jakes has been nominated for naming his little boy Reggie Fury Jakes after the main man Tyson Fury. I just flicked through them all here, which is a bit of an amateur mistake. Let's see if we can get them back on the phone. Did anybody see this during the week, actually? It was brought to my attention. Old Bean was getting the grief in the YouTube comments again, and they ended up pinning a derogatory comment about poor old Bean. It was quite hard, actually.
I saw that one. What was said?
Someone said something mean about being I've got the sweets in my car or something, and whoever done the interview, IFL, pinned it at the top of the thing. Oh man, poor Bean. Getting it rough. We'll move on.
Run a bean, should have been, could have been, really been.
Let's see if we can bring that up. Here we are. Where is it?
You're a hater!
There we are. Okay, so David Almond has nominated After Head, who's talking about Ruiz coming in 2 stone overweight for the AJ rematch. Prime Type Myson has nominated George Foreman. Really enjoying the interview until the big man said Wilder won the first Fury fight. You're going to have to come down off my wall, said George. Easy Bellew of the Week. He's then removed the picture. William Lee has nominated Anthony Fowler for talking more about the CBD oil situation.
It fucking goes relentless with that shit, man.
Loves the old CBD, Andy.
Oh, what? I wish you would love TNT and smoke that shit.
He should do. THC. David Almond has nominated Marvelous Marcos. Ivan said the top 5 UK draws. Number 1, AJ. Number 2, David Hay. Number 3, Ricky Hatton. Number 4, Joe Kazagi. Number 5, Carl Froch. Marvelous Marcos said James DeGale. Who else we got here? Eggy Phil has nominated... Not really sure who's nominated here. Joker. Some of them you read them back and you can't remember the context. This is a good one anyway. That came in from Michael Garner. Abner Mares. Has anybody seen this? He's brought out these Abner Mares facial protection masks. Pre-order now to swipe up, and it's got Mares and then a photo of him on the front, and half Abner, half skeleton. So if you want to protect yourself from coronavirus, Andy, get Abner Mares face masks on the case.
That was his gimmick going into the ring, I think, as well. He had these shitty face masks, these Mexican things. Remember that idiot? I mean, you'd be better wearing it. See, remember that fucking idiot who wears that skull mask in the ring?
Oh, yes, him.
Remember that? You'd be better wearing that fucking shit, man, than that fucking face mask for the good it does you. But how much is he selling it for? What's the retail price?
I didn't see that.
You missed a trick there, Steve.
I bet they're flying out. They're flying out the Abner Maris fucking coronavirus face mask. Fucking hot off the shelves.
I seen a picture for Germany actually for the PPE stuff, face masks with fucking holes in them, perforated holes in the fucking face masks.
It's bonkers. Get an Abner Mares one anyway. That's what you need. Yeah. MMA Gimp said Tom Myers, who's nominated all these boys who are picking now. Conor McGregor to fight Oscar De La Hoya. I don't think getting punched in the head is what Oscar needs right now, but they're talking about that fight anyway. Toby He's nominated. Who is it? Mile High Grim. They're on about the Eric Morales Pacquiao fights. I don't care what anyone says. Morales won 2 of those Pacquiao fights. Says Mile High Grim. What? Which ones? Well, I know he definitely won the first one, Andy. But which of the other 2 fights did Morales win against Pacquiao? Well, I'm pretty sure it wasn't the third.
Definitely wasn't the third one. He absolutely made sure it wasn't the third one because he bailed on that shit quick.
That's right, he did, didn't he?
Third round, wasn't it?
He'd earned his due by that point. He'd earned his due.
He earned his coin. He could take and say when he wanted to fight and how he wanted to fight and that. I mean, to come back and give Maidana the business for 12 rounds, even with that eye, like, you know, for like, was that 11 rounds, I think it was?
Yeah.
That was, you know, what, 38, 39, maybe even, fuck, I don't know what age he was at the time, but fuck me, man, put on some performance like, that was like prime Maidana to who up to, what was it, 140, I think it was at the time.
Morales was a great fighter. Old Eric. Joe Kennedy's nominated Bob Arum. Yes, I agree with that. I'm going to swerve that one, I think.
Needs a shave.
Who are you going for, Ozzy? Sorry, any nominations first of all, Ozzy?
Yeah. I've got one this week, and it's for the one and only Michael Benson.
Oh.
And that was because Dillian White earlier today tweeted him and said, I'll just pull up the tweet now. So Benson, we all know he's a thief. He loves stealing content. Well, Dillian White has called him out for it and has said, stop reposting all of my Instagram stories, which has got a lot of good publicity for Dillian White. So don't agree with everything that he does and says, but this is one that I'm more than happy to agree with when it involves slamming and criticising Michael Benson for all the dodgy work that he does.
Ooh.
Nomination for Benson. Anything to improve on that, Andy?
Yeah, I've got 3, mate. I've got one. Well, there's not so much Karl Froch as such, but Lucien Boutte came out there during the week and says, admitted that he was never the same fighter after the Karl Froch fight. And I'm just thinking about Karl Froch reading those comments and looking at himself in the mirror and just winking to himself and saying, yeah, I cobraed him.
Yeah, he's telling the wife and all, oh, Rachel, I cobraed him. Did you hear what he said, Rachel?
He said the same about Kessler as well, because Kessler had to pull out the tournament. I don't know if you caught a thing on boxing scene as well. As there's interest that some sort of fight growing. And I say some sort of fight between Sergio Martinez, who's now 45-year-old by the way, and Marcos Maidana. So they're interested. I don't know what the weight is, but to me it's a bad idea all round. So that one. And your tweet, Steve, the WBC unveiled the special COVID-19 belt. Well, we can exclusively reveal tonight that the WBA have actually created their own belt, so it'll be champion in recuperation. So anybody, I think it'll be an inauguration title getting issued shortly at some point. So WBC for the COVID-19 belt.
Good old WBC, wouldn't put it past them whatsoever. Rapping Rob Kelly, any nominations for you over the week, episode 372?
Yeah, well, I jumped off there for a minute, but I'm taking you covered the Tyson bare knuckle stuff,
No, not yet.
Well, that's my nomination. The BFKB or BKFC or the SPFLB bare knuckle fucking championship that Malinaji and fucking Artem the Goat Lobev campaign that has put up $1 million purse for Mike Tyson, which has been accepted for him to fight Let's Go champ Shannon the Cannon in a bare knuckler at 53 years of age on the vegan diet, hoping that he can change the world's population's perspective on life after getting stoned off his nut on fucking a bullfrog DMT. Mike Tyson is back, ladies and gentlemen. Fuck me, man. As big as a Mike Tyson fan I was. Mike Tyson passed his prime in 1989. Okay? He was never the same after that. That's 1989, not 99, 2009, 2019. 1989, Mike Tyson went past his prime. He was never the same after, even the first Bruno fight. He wasn't the fucking same fighter. This is just insanity. Who the fuck, I know we're in lockdown times, but what the fuck is going on? Mike Tyson's 53, man. You want him to die. And Shannon the Cannon juiced to the motherfucking maximum. Fuck's sake, man. What is going on? That is just insanity. Like, as much as I love Mike, like, we don't want to see that.
Strong one. Strong nominations, Ozzy. I'm tempted by Abner Morris's face mask. The Mike Tyson one, sorry, is a good one as well. George Foreman has committed a crime this week, and also that fella going on like Prince Patel. Your Benson one's quite solid, Ozzy. A few to choose from. Who are you going for?
Yeah, I've got to stick with any opportunity to have a do at Michael Benson. So yeah, Benson gets my nomination.
One down for Benson there. What about you, Andy? Who are you going for?
Benson's a good one, actually, getting called out with Dillian White.
The whole Tyson thing needs to stop as well, doesn't it?
It needs to. I mean, listen, end of the day, well, Tyson would fuck up anybody who's no, a fully trained fighter. Let's put it this way. I said it last week. Can you imagine breaking into his house and you turn around and he's standing there? That's how he would fucking treat you, like he treated like that fucking pad work. But in the professional prize fighting ring, as Rob says, he's 53. I believe he had neck surgery just not long ago as well, but maybe about a year and a half ago and stuff. I mean, for fuck's sake, what you want to do? You want to see somebody get carried out the ring in a stretcher in a fucking body bag? Because the last time you seen that, Steve, was that Thai fight. Remember the Italian guy who fought in Italy?
Oh, that was a bad one.
That was bad. And listen, they cut the commercial break, come back, announced the winner, and the guy's still fucking lying in the ring.
They're announcing the winner over his body.
Yeah, exactly. He's fucking lying there dead in the fucking ring, man. So the Tyson situation, I'll go for that one.
Yeah, I think as much as Abner Morris excites me this week, Rob, I'm going for the whole Mike Tyson sideshow. Who are you going for?
And Oscar must be on the primo in lockdown, man. Oscar says Mike Tyson with 6 months training beats every heavyweight out there right now. So
he's
a fucking shit show.
He's definitely snorting old candy with the fucking fentanyl in it, like.
Treat Mike Tyson like Tony Bellew. Just leave him alone, man. He's never getting his life in order. For fuck's sake, don't be throwing him back in the ring. Like, fucking hell, man. Last thing he needs. Jesus Christ.
I said it before about Oscar, though. I'm not going to go through the whole spiel, but, we always used to shit on old Snake Schaefer, but he was the one who was keeping him in line, I think, in retrospect.
Old
he was
tricky
keeping the bills
Schaefer.
paid, wasn't he? He was keeping things running anyway. The lights on.
Well, wait a minute here, though, but what happened when he was at his lowest? What did Tricky Dicky do? He fucking jumped ship with all the fighters. Oscar was left with absolutely fucking nothing.
Probably fed up with Oscar, wasn't he?
Yeah, but I mean, that's a guy who's apparently his mate. Fucking turned on him and just shafted him and took all his fighters apart from Canelo. Probably tried to take him as well, but Canelo remained loyal. Yeah, fucking. I tell you, he is a snifty wee, snidey wee cunt actually, because I go up and record the fucking orders a pint, right, in Belfast, and he fucking welched on it, right. So me, McElwee actually fucking clocked him, right. He wears this suit jacket. It's fucking far too big for him. The fucking smear me, fucking slick-eyed prick. You hear all sleek back in that, right? He's like, "Hey, you're due as a pint by." He's like, "Oh yeah, I've got to go somewhere. I've got to go and see something. I need to make some fucking phone calls." And that. It was the time that Frampton was fighting Daenerys, actually. You're like, right. Yeah, you're fucking right. You have no intention of buying us a pint like you promise you. Fuck. This is a Swiss banker, by the way.
Maybe got no money, Andy.
Aye, he's living in son on his fucking flexible friend and that, the wanker.
One interesting thing Andy mentioned there, shout out to Michael McAway, one of the good guys, good friend of mine, top bloke is Michael, listens as well, Patreon subscriber. So who are we going for then? I've lost all track of time here. Is it Mike Tyson? I think we both went for Tyson, didn't we, Andy?
Yeah, but did I?
We both went for Tyson. Congratulations, Mike, at 53 years of age, last seen in the ring, biting Kevin McBride's nipple. Come back and take over the heavyweight division. You are Bellew of the Week for episode 372. Let's finish up then. Thank you to everyone who's been on, as always. Andy was there. So was Rapping Rob Kelly. So was Ozzy. So was Smido as well, painting his bathroom, stormed off. Maybe we won't hear him again. Also, Hater Dave Loback was seen logging on for about 30 seconds. Great performance from him. Thanks for Lewis Van Potch for joining us, and also to Karl Greaves. We'll catch you all again for episode 373. Same time, same place next week. I've been Steve Wellings. Bye.
Bye-bye, Neil Doncaster. You're out on your arse.